Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. My name is Preston Jacobs. I am here in Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, and we are talking about ice and fire and other stuff. Whatever people want to talk about, it's up to you guys. It's up to you guys. You guys want to talk, you want to talk wine? Should we talk wine? What do you guys want to talk about tonight? What? You want to talk college basketball? No, no. Tonight, let's talk about what everybody's favorite subject, the brave companions. The brave companions, the bloody mummers. Um, Now, I have a special relationship with the brave companions in the sense that it was really kind of my first big theory. And um, before I even had a channel, I was writing. I wrote a theory called "The Brave Companions are Ober and Sellsword Company," and the Brave Companions caught my attention because they weren't in the show, and yet George spends just a massive amount of time on this Sellsword Company. Um, it's characters that when they appeared in A Clash of Kings and they did their thing. In any other book, say Stephen King, you would have just moved on. They would have just been random characters that appeared at some point, and then you never would have had to think about them again. They kill Amory Lorch and then they're done. Like, you could have just had them never appear again. But that's not how George R. Martin works. He loves to have all of his side characters come back and try to. And this goes for a lot of his stories. You even when you read like Tough Voyaging, there's like a random character brought back when you're talking about the food trilogy and that, or Dying of the Light. Like, each of the Braiths had to be accounted for and killed off. The same with, like, if you read Fever Dream, like, each of the vampires are killed off and accounted for. Like, George has these like lists of characters where he's just like, well, we got to deal with them. We got to deal with them. Like when I made a joke about Arya's death list in the show, like, when we made the joke about Ilan Payne, like, surviving and Arya never finishing her death list. The random normie doesn't care about that. But, like, of course, like, the fans are like, what the fuck? Ilan Payne got away. Like, fucking congratulations. Like, he never made it. Now, so we know that the Brave Companions, well, even before I specifically asked George if the Brave Companions are returning, and he said yes. But we kind of knew that they were going to come back. That was a question that we knew. It's like it's set up like Arya's death list, where you've got these characters and they're getting crossed off. And I think the Brave Companions attracted my attention. Yeah, they were not in the show, and they were just randomly brought. Like, George just kept bringing them in, and I think I was convinced, like, there has to be more to them, right? There's so much time. The Arya story in The Clash of Kings, the Arya story in A Storm of Swords, the Jaime and Brienne story in A Storm of Swords, the Brienne story in A Feast for Crows. They just kept coming back. Like, this whole story of Brienne, like, why is she dealing with the Brave Companions for an entire book? And so let's get into, like, their history and if they, what's going to happen to them. So real quickly, let's see here. The Brave Companions first appear in A Clash of Kings. They don't appear. Only Vargo Hoat appears in the appendix, and we first hear about them in Arya 7. And this is the description. I'll bring up the quote here. Arya 7. Arya did not know who bloody mummers were until a fortnight later, when the queerest company of men she'd ever seen arrived at Harrenhal, beneath the standard of a black goat and bloody horn. On the standard of a black goat with bloody horns rode copper men with bells in their braids. So we're getting a Dothraki here. Bells in their braids. Lancers astride striped black and white horses. This is they're riding zorses, they're riding zebras. Bowmen with powdered cheeks. Squat hairy men with shaggy shields. I guess this is the idea that this is the bowman with powdered cheeks is I think they're trying to describe some sort of like Lyseni, somebody from Essos. Squat men with hairy shaggy shields. That's probably an Ibanese. Brown-skinned men in feathered cloaks, a summer islander. A wispy fool in green and pink motley. That's clearly Shagwell. Swordsmen with fantastic forked beards dyed green, purple, and silver. Some Mirish. Spearmen with colored scars that covered their cheeks. That sounds like Timian. A slender man in Septon robes. That's Septon Ut. A fatherly one in a Maester's Grey. That is obviously Qyburn, and a sickly one whose leather cloak was fringed with long blonde hair. And that is Urswick the Faithful. And so not all of these are actually followed up on. We don't get any specific Summer Islander or Mirish or Lyseni characters when we get the Brave Companions. And so, but nonetheless, in the next book, we do get an appendix for A Storm of Swords. And A Storm of Swords, like, that's when we really kind of meet them, right? So in the A Storm of Swords appendix, let's get to Vargo Hout. This is the big thing, right? This is where we get them. So now Vargo Hout, his lieutenant Urswick the Faithful, Septon Ut, Timian of Dorne, Rorg, Igo, Fat Zolo, Biter, Tog Joth of Ibn, Pig, Three Toads, his men, Qyburn. So in A Storm of Swords, weirdly, and this is very weird, Rorg and Biter get to join the Brave Companions and Rorg rises to the position of a sergeant, like immediately, like out of fucking nowhere. Which, makes one wonder, like, how did Rorg and Biter, two absolute lunatics that make the Brave Companions look sane by comparison. I mean, the Brave Companions are fucking crazy, but compared to Rorg and Biter, they are civilized men, right? But somehow Rorg and Biter rise up to sergeant status and Rorg is leading a band of them. So we get, based on let's get these guys in, all right? Based on the appendix, we had Vargo, Urswick, all right, Septon Ut, Qyburn, Shagwell, fucking Shagwell, yeah. Zolo the Fat. The Miko did almost everybody. Let me see. Timmy and the Dornishman. And then Come on, he has an ego here. Here we go. Pig. Jesus. And then where's this is three toes. Three toes. Where is ego? I had it right here. Oh well, I'll grab him again. Ego. The joiners of Biter. And let's get Rorg. And the only one that the Miko never made a picture for, Togjoff. Togjoff. By the way, in all of Ice and Fire, there's only 2 Ibonese characters that are ever given names. Asadora, who's a sex worker in Bravos, and Togjoff. So I'll have to get a picture of it. They somehow think that people assume that that the Miranese are Neanderthals. So we'll grab Togjoff. Okay. So here is our crew. And the reason it's important to know where these guys go, because they are coming back in our story. But they're related to Brienne's story, because three men discuss raping Brienne. And those men are Zolo the Fat, Rorg, and Shagwell, who are considered as they say, the worst of the brave companions, which is a mighty, mighty bad reputation. So, and so then so if we get our little map of the South, and we can go over how each of our guys dies. There's obviously more brave companions than this in reality, but they're not. They're never mentioned by name. So we're just gonna kind of stick with the named ones. So let's move. Let's make me a little smaller here. Everyone loves it when I get the maps out. Can I send this by to the back? Okay. So we know that in order of death. Ego is the first to die. He is sent after Arya at the beginning of A Clash of Kings. He is, and he's killed by Nymeria, and we get that in the Wolf Dream. He is the first to die, and then we get our second to die. What's going on with you, Rorg? Is Septinut. Septinut executed by the Brotherhood Without Banners, hanged for his crimes. Then Brienne then goes on her search for Dantos. Doesn't know it, but she's secretly on the trail of Shagwell. She runs into Shagwell, Timmy and the Dornishman, and Pig, and she ends up, killing them. Then she hears about Rorg leading a band, so she heads off, and she ends up killing Rorg and Biter. Meanwhile, we hear off screen that Vargo Hout was forced to cannibalize himself at Harrenhal by Gregor Clegane. So that leaves us with 5 brave companions left. 5 left. And the most significant of them, in terms of their story being wrapped up, is Zolo. Zolo the Fat is one of the rapists who tried to rape Brienne. And in A Feast for Crows, we are very specifically given imagery of Brienne's potential rapists being rape killed by Brienne. This is actually one of the few things that it's brought into Game of Thrones, the series. She ends up like when she is traveling with Jaime, she ends up they end up getting attacked and she kills somebody, and there's a scene where it's very clearly like she's kind of, she's on top of the soldier and she thrusts her sword up inside him, and it's very much this like recreated rape scene. That's done twice in A Feast for Crows with Shagwell and with Roarg. It's very weird sexualized scenes of her killing them both. Essentially, they get their comeuppance, in the sense they are raped because they wanted to rape Brienne. And so we know that Zolo the Fat is also the one that's guilty of taking Jaime's hand. I mean, granted, it was ordered by Vargo Hout, but Zolo's the one that chops it off. So Zolo is definitely the main character that needs to come back in the story. He needs to be killed by Brienne, but also Jaime needs to somehow like get his comeuppance on Zolo as well. It's very interesting. Now, where Zolo went specifically, we don't know. What we do, so we know Qyburn, and there's a question of whether Qyburn has become enough of his own character that we even consider him a brave companion, So, but he's obviously in King's Landing. And we do hear from Timian the Dornishman that the brave companions, or at least Urswick the Faithful specifically, has gone to Old Town. We get a line in Brienne 4. He says, "We all went our own ways after we left Harrenhal. Urswick and his lot rode south to Old Town. Roarg thought he might slip out at Salt Pans. Me and my lads made for Maidenpool, but we couldn't get near a ship. The Dornishman hefted his spear. You did for Varga with that bite, His ear turned black and started leaking pus. Roarg and Urswick were for leaving, but the goat says we got to hold his castle. Lord of Harrenhal, he says. No one's going to take it from him." So it sounds like he specifically says that they went their own ways, but then he only lists 3 bands. Or, I mean, Vargo staying behind, but he lists the Roarg band, the Timian band, and the Urswick the Faithful band. So it sounds like Urswick the Faithful should be down in Old Town with everybody's favorite fucking character, Tog Joth, 3 Toes, and our most important character to get his comeuppance, Zolo the Fat, all down in Old Town. Now, what the hell they're doing in Old Town. Who knows? We have our fanfic ideas, but who knows? Meanwhile, Jamie and Brienne up in the Riverlands. Up in the Riverlands. Um so at least in the Winds of Winter, it seems very unlikely that these characters will be getting their comeuppance. The Jamie and Brienne story, it has to deal with with Lady Stoneheart and everything. But man, everybody, and this is only because there's a chance that Zolo could be somewhere. Zolo is mentioned by Jamie in A Feast for Crows too. He is, and so it may be that he went somewhere else. But any hopes of he says, if Hote's brave companions fall into your hands, send word to me at once. The stranger might have made off with the goat before Jamie could get around to him. But Fat Zolo was still out there with Shagwell, Rorg, Faithful Urswick, the rest. Interestingly enough, Jamie divides the brave companions in roughly the same three groups. Shagwell, Rorg, Faithful Urswick. That means, the Cracklaw Point, the Salt Pans, the Old Town group. But maybe one could argue that Zolo is on his own somewhere with a different group. One could argue, but it does sound that simplicity's sake, it doesn't matter. They all need to get their comeuppance. We know it's happening. Jamie has thought of them. Brienne has this third rapist that she needs to kill. Jamie has to get a comeuppance for his hand. So how do we what reasons? Would Jamie and Brienne have any reason to go all the way down to Old Town? But then what would bring the brave companions back up to this area where they're all recognizable? They should be trying to flee, right? They should be trying to get back to Essos, theoretically. Unless obviously, you can go with your Preston Jacobs theories and say that they're working for Doran Martell and they're all part of, Oberyn Sellsword Company and they have things to do. But man, it's hard to get these characters, considering that Brienne also has this mission to face Stannis and the mission to face Lady Stoneheart, which she's doing, and Zolo the Fat in opposite directions of the map. Stannis is at Winterfell. Zolo is at Old Town. How do you get those characters? How do you get those characters together? The only solution I see is that somehow the Brave Companions are convinced to go back to Harrenhal, which, man, they're stupid for doing that, considering everyone in the Riverlands knows who they are. They're famous. So it's a real perplexing question that I haven't heard really a good answer on what would bring the Brave Companions back to Harrenhal, back to the Riverlands, so that Jamie and Brienne would face them, or what would bring Jamie and Brienne down to Old Town to face the Brave Companions. But at some point, something's got to happen. Now, again, if I think the Dornish master plan kind of story makes a very interesting solution to that. It's rich. Was George thinking about it, or and all the coincidences that it came up with? I don't know, but it's a real question. What would motivate the Brave Companions to come back into the world, the Jamie and Brienne story? I don't know if there's a good solution. they're trying to flee, and they're going to Old Town. What it's one of those things where I think George kind of said, well, I'll figure this out later. I'll throw it in the Old Town story with Sam and everybody else. It's kind of all the extra stories are there. And keep in mind, they have to be killed by Jamie and Brienne. They have to be dealt with by Jamie and Brienne. Um, that's definitely their story. I mean, all of these characters die in either the Jamie Brienne story or an Arya story, which is, the Arya story seeds the Jamie Brienne story. I mean, so does Catelyn, but the Catelyn and Arya story is like seed the Jamie and Brienne story. Yeah. But man, oh man. Okay. Are we going to be fighting Ironborn in Old Town? I am probably going to pass the Samwell 2 fanfic chapter to the editors tomorrow or the day after. Been working on that, but yeah, there's Ironborn are fucking back. Ironborn are there in the fanfic, yeah. But why do the Brave Companions need to be wrapped up? I hope I explained why they need to be wrapped up. I think the Brienne and Jamie, like the Brienne story needs it. Like it very much needs it. The Jamie story a little less. I mean, Jamie might just like get over that shit, but it has to be wrapped up. If the wall is a tree-lined structure, couldn't the others cross by these same trees, shaking their branches of ice and creating a pathway through the wall? I don't know. I'm trying to get the full meaning of this because I understand that there's a theory out there that the wall started out as werewoods and things like this. But I don't necessarily think it's that. I guess the idea is that the Black Gate was a face on a werewood or something. I don't necessarily buy it. I don't think it's very interesting. I don't know what it adds to have the wall be a line of werewoods that was eventually like turned into the wall. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know what. I'm not sure like where it's going or why this theory has like come about. Like the wall can just be the wall. It could be a separate thing. It could have faces too. I mean, those caves in the Stormlands have faces. People draw faces. There doesn't necessarily have to be a tree in there, but could the others cross these trees by shaking their branches of ice and creating a pathway through the wall? So there's some I'm trying to think like this is basically asking like how do I think that the wall would come down, and is it even necessary and things like that. Now obviously the show decided to use a white dragon breathing fire into it and melting a big hole, which probably is George's like idea. It's so bold. Like a white dragon is probably so bold that would D&D have the balls to do that on their own. Like they were really like doing a lot of checklisting, right? Of of plot points, um, whether they made sense or not, in like narratively speaking. And so George's original idea probably really was like a white dragon burning a hole in the wall. Do I, the other ideas out there is like, okay, well, we've got a whole bunch of horns. There's Euron's horn, there's Sam's horn. Like we could do another horn of Jormung bringing it on the wall. There's Gorn's Way. You can just walk under the wall, Gorn's Way. You can just go around the wall at Eastwatch or at the Bridge of Skulls. You could climb over the wall like John had dreams about, them climbing spiders and climbing over the wall. All of these things, are possible. George probably thought of he used his original idea probably was the white dragon, but shaking trees branches to create pathways through the wall. I mean, that's another way. We already have this like half dozen ways to get through the wall already. And then you have to say, okay, well, who would be observing this in a POV? Like you could imagine that you could have a POV at the wall observing like a dragon coming in and burning a big hole in it, and then watching this big army of the dead pass through. Like you could imagine that. Or you could off screen, you could just have somebody get attacked by the others, and then you find out that they went through Gorn's Way or just around at Eastwatch or something like that. Sam's horn is a bit weird because if he's blowing that horn down in Old Town and it happens to blow a hole in the wall, like all of a sudden in the north, would you come up with that connection? I mean, I suppose you could do it like the next chapter or something. He blows the horn, and then the next chapter, the dragon comes. You could double it up, but I don't know, like doing some sort of secret magic thing. Like you want to be. It has to be a spectacle enough that a POV can like view it. Otherwise, how is it known that it's happened? Like shaking trees and creating pathways, and like how is someone on the wall observing like this weird like shaking idea, and then how is that explained later, like in the text, like someone later being like, well, in fact the wall was a bunch of werewoods. Like how is that communicated? The horn stuff's kind of all been laid out. It's pretty easy to see a white dragon. It's not hard to understand how that's working. We've heard about Gorn's Way, and we've heard about going around at Eastwatch and things like that. So certain things like you don't need an explanation for. There'd just be like so much explanation for a strange new method for getting through the wall. Like first establishing that the wall had a bunch of werewoods in it, and then two, like shaking branches to create pathways, I haven't reviewed Peacemaker yet. I've been watching it. It's good. I'm having a fun time with it. I don't think it's as good as first season, but it's fun. It's fun. Sangria or wine. Look, I like sangria. I like wine. What's funny about so I studied abroad in Spain when I was in college. And what's kind of interesting about culture is that only certain certain aspects of culture become famous and kind of spread around, right? So like young Spaniards drink something called calimocho a lot, which is essentially bad wine and Coca-Cola mixed together. That's like a very Spanish thing. If you're like young, because you went out, you bought some wine, it wasn't that great. You mix in some Coca-Cola, and it keeps you awake because you want to be partying all night because so it's got caffeine. But it's not like if you went to a Spanish restaurant in America or anywhere else in the world and you were like, "Yeah, I'd like a calimocho." Like anyone would be like, "What?" Like it's just not something that would ever happen, you know? Um, it's not something. It's not an aspect of Spanish culture that will ever spread, you know, like that will ever be. Um, it's just something the Spaniards do. It's like random things I've got kids, so I attend a lot of birthday parties here in the Dominican Republic. And for some reason, Dominicans love fucking balloon arches at birthday parties. Every birthday party has to have a big fucking balloon arch. Like just it's like 50 balloons that have made into this arch for whoever's freaking birthday. Why is there a balloon arch at every birthday party? But at the same time, if you're like, oh, Dominican culture, no one's sitting there going like, oh, the fucking balloon arch, you know? so, um, Sangria is one of those weird things. Like, it's not like in Spain, like they drink sangria, but it's not like sangria is like super popular. But like, it's not like they're drinking it every night. They're having just regular wine. They drink beer. They obviously drink beer a lot more than they drink sangria. Beer is everywhere. Wine is everywhere. Sangria is it's kind of a rarity. Um, but you go out to a Spanish restaurant in America, everyone's like, "Oh, we got to get sangria." Like, okay, as if Spaniards are drinking sangria constantly, like Spaniards drink calimocho, wine and Coca-Cola, wine and bad Coca-Cola a lot more than sangria. But if you went to a Spanish restaurant, you're not in America, you're not going to order a calimocho, you're going to order a sangria. It's just one of those weird things that I think is funny about like the spread of culture and what you feel like you need to be doing. um, yeah. But yeah. Um, oh, do Randall and Dickon die in the books like Shell? Well, if we're talking about the fanfic, I haven't figured out how what's going to happen to Randall and Dickon. Um, I know that Dickon is in a completely different location. He's at Maidenpool, or is he at Salt Pans? I'm because he got married off to Mooten, right? So it's going to be so Feast for Crows. He's betrothed to Eleanor Mooten. So you're and the Mootens are of Maidenpool. So in the fanfic, I'm seeing it as like he's going to get captured by the Vale forces, and they're going to have a hostage, and that's the fate of Dickon. Um, what's going to happen to Randall? I don't know. Um, oh, hello, hello, hello. How goes it?
Hi, hi, can you hear me? Is it
I
good?
can. Let me give you an overlay. Hold on. What's been going on?
Hey, nothing much. Just crazy stuff. I was just in Manhattan, so I'm like exhausted. I commuted like all the way from like here from Long Island into Manhattan and then back. And it was a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very exciting though. Like, in the short term, I'm sure like after years and years, it just becomes a grind. But because I even felt this like when I used to work in downtown Chicago a summer, and there was just this like excitement of like, well, I'm getting off the subway, and now I'm walking to work among the masses of people, and then at the end of the day, I'm getting walking with the masses of people back to the train, things like that. But
It's
did you
exciting.
feel that
There's
kind of
adventure. There's
that thrill?
Yeah, yeah. I felt that today, like yeah, like climbing out of the subway, seeing the big city, like it is like exciting and having to face it alone. It's pretty cool. It's good.
Yeah, yeah. There's some fun stuff. I mean, how much partying in New York have you done?
Not too much, not yet is the thing. Like I hung out with some friends this weekend. in like the very like western part of Long Island, almost in New
Mm.
York. And then what else did I do? I met my second cousin. So like, I hung out with I'd never met him before, so he was living in New York too. So it was cool. We hung out. So not too much partying yet, you know.
One thing I recommend, I used to do almost every time. I haven't done it in a long time, but you should go see Upright Citizens Brigade because it's super cheap to get tickets. Like for a while, it
Oh,
was like $5 to get like tickets to see Upright Citizens Brigade. And it's just a fun. It's a fun, and you go in and the beer they just sell like you know cans of beer for a couple bucks, and it's just like it's a cheap night, and it's just really fun to go see that. It's for people that don't know what I'm talking about. Upright Citizens Brigade is a it's an improv comedy troupe founded by Amy Poehler and the her other crew. You everyone would you'd all recognize the other three like Matt Walsh and stuff like that, but they didn't become as famous as Amy Poehler, but like she
Matt
that
Walsh, is that the conservative commentator?
no. The guy who
Is
he
that
was
the
on Veep.
oh, okay.
Um, Not the conservative commentator.
I was like, wow, all right. It's not out of possibility, you know. Like that's
No,
Superman guy,
I'm
right?
probably getting his name. Am I fucking up his name?
Yeah.
Um,
Let's see a guy.
Julia Lee
I have
Dreyfus, Reed Scott. What? Where am I getting it? Okay. Anna Schlumsky, who I went to college with. Um, no, it is Matt Walsh. I got it. It's this guy.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I recognize that guy. Yeah.
Right. Upright Citizens Brigade. Um, the original. And I fucking love first of all, Upright Citizens Brigade. This is like this is like so random. But Upright Citizens Brigade, they were an upright they were an improv comedy troupe in New York. And then they had this very short-lived sketch comedy show where they took their funniest stuff and like put it on and made a show, and they put it on Comedy Central, and they hardly ever aired it. It was
Hmm.
like aired once, and some of the episodes were fucking hilarious. And they only came, I bought the DVDs when they came out in season 1 and 2, but they never came out with like season 3 on DVD. And I'm always like, oh man, it's just really fucking golden stuff. Um, just Amy Poehler and her and the crew in their days were just so good. And
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, they founded this like school where all of these wannabe improvers like go and they get trained, and then they do shows and they charge like $5 for you to go, and there you'll laugh your ass off and have a great evening and not spend any money. And I
That's
think
awesome.
occasionally for a while Amy Poehler and her like would still do Sunday nights. Like, and those would sell out immediately. But like, but man, it was good. It was funny.
I'll have to check him out. I have news. I called in because I have news. I got a copy of shoot, a
Oh,
physical copy of
and Seven
this.
Times Never Kill Man.
And 7 times I've killed him because I decided I'm going into a New York Comic Con to see George.
Oh, and you're gonna have
So
him
this is
sign that.
I'm gonna have him sign this. I want to come out and I'm like, he's gonna remember me. Like, all right, I'm gonna be the only guy with the 7 times never kill man signature, and it'll be like my excuse. Be like, I love your sci-fi stuff, man. Avalon. What
That's
about
gonna be
Avalon?
great because you're right that he's gonna stop and be like, "Whoa." Um, when I went to Balticon, one of the girls there, she had secured a copy. I befriended when I went to Balticon. I befriended this woman who she was great.
Mm.
But like, she like recognized me and was like, and then for some reason we were just hanging out the whole time, and she had secured one of George's original zines from when he was in high school. There
Zines?
was like 100 of them in the world, and she paid a bunch of money and got it and like had him sign it. And he was like whoa, I can't believe I haven't. He was like, I haven't seen this in honestly like 50 years. Like, what the? How did you get this? He was just bowled over. It was about the story inside was about this like superhero who was a skier. Um, it was nothing exciting. It's like, it's a high schooler writing stuff, but it was very funny. But he did like pause and was like, "Whoa!" So I think he will be like, he'll pause and be like, "Oh my god, oh wow,"
I
and
know.
then you can lead it to your haranguing minds.
I know. I'm like timid with this stuff, so I'm worried like I'm gonna like shy away. I'm worried I'm gonna have my moment and miss it. I'm gonna be afraid to be too pushy. But this gives me like the perfect
Oh,
excuse. Like
he's gonna
he's
pause
gotta
on
be
it.
like,
He's definitely gonna pause, yeah, and
yeah,
be like,
yeah. He's
"Whoa."
got to pause on his Wookiees, like his Wookiees that he invented, his Ewok
Yeah, I
Wookiees.
wonder if he's gonna start going off on that. He's like, I invented the Wookiees. It's right here.
I I I was on eBay. This was $10. I was like, "Okay, I have to have an excuse to," and it was that or, a physical copy of Glass Flower.
Mm,
Um, and the Glass Flower one was a little bit more expensive. It was like the retro cover too. I was like,
yeah, yeah,
"Whoa."
yeah. It's really
But,
random, like which ones you get. So my Blood of the Dragon that I got, for some reason, like there was like five Blood of the Dragons that were being sold for $400, and then there was one that was being sold for like for $10, and I got the one for $10. And so I have it, and everybody's like, "How did Preston get this $400?" I was like, "No, I got the one $10 one."
that's awesome.
I
Oh my
know.
gosh.
But yeah, no, I mean, you're right that like next time I go, I should have George like sign that one. It's like my Blood of the Dragon uh, issue. But yeah, yeah, that's gonna be good. Gonna be good. And then, I mean, I guess he's got to take some time because signing. There'll be a signing, and then you stand in line, and then you got to get to the head of the signing line. With blood of the, with and seven times never kill man.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and I really wanna get him to talk about Harangan Mines or Avalon or something. I wanna get something out of him because that's the thing is, like, this is stuff that's never gonna get resolved,
Never.
right? Somebody
Right.
somebody in your comment section or something said they're gonna be there too, and they're gonna ask about Harangan
And he's going to
Mines.
get asked like 15 times. I hope.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hope he's
he's
going
like,
to get
"What?"
asked 15 times.
It's like, "Why do these people care about Harangan Mines all of a sudden?" And it's us. It's just us.
It's such a weird thing though, because like um the because the Thousand Worlds, I mean, granted, like it wasn't as important to his life as Ice and Fire, but at the same time, it was still over a very salient period, a long and salient period. Because when you're younger, like I sat here and talked about fucking sangria because I did a study abroad in Spain. Like that was 4 months
Mm,
of my fucking life. Like, but 4 months when you're 20 is a big deal.
yeah.
Like he spent like 20 years on the Thousand Worlds, um, and
He
then
doesn't talk about it
doesn't want to
at
talk.
all.
I know.
Doesn't talk like, we still needed to okay, there's so many Thousand Worlds stuff that we need answers on now that I think about it. We need to get, like, there's the Ferengian Mines,
Hmm.
there's Avalon, like, what the heck was gonna happen with that? And then there's, like, what's the deal with Earth? Like, how Earth is, like,
Oh,
closed
right. Why
off and
is
stuff?
old Earth in isolation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Like, did
need
you
all
ever
these
come up with a
answers. We
reason
need
why
all these
old Earth
answers.
was in isolation? That's
Oh
another
my
one. I mean, you're
gosh.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe he didn't even know, like, maybe
It's
he didn't even know
true.
it's a mystery box thing. We know
Yeah.
at least with the Ferengian Mines that there's something there, like, there was something
Right. Because, like
interesting
I say,
about it.
somebody asked him like years ago, did you ever come up with what the Harangan Mines looked like? And he's like, yeah, yeah, I had it in my head. And you're like, oh. The problem, that was no, no,
Because that's the thing is when you read the Thousand Worlds, the Harangan mines are like these big bads in the background. Like, and it's
yeah,
not just like world building. Like I remember in like the Stone City, in the Stone City when he's like walking through all the doors, he goes to like the Harangan like home world, and he's like, I could feel that like he could sense that there was something beneath the city's ruins or something like
yeah,
that, still waiting. And so like you get the sense that there's something building, and that's why I was thinking like Avalon might have been that, like, might have been like they're finally going to resolve like the Harangan mines are back because Avalon is like, from what they tell us, it's like their citadel. So it's
mm.
like the Old Town plot. Oh my gosh, maybe George he like can't write Old Town plots. Like it's like his thing. He's like, I can't write the university
I
shit.
mean,
Like,
it might also be that he had the story. Like maybe Avalon was Ice and Fire. Like
oh my
like
god.
the Harangan mines were gonna come, and everyone had forgotten the Harangan mines. Could have been thousands of years, and everyone had
Fuck.
forgotten who the Harangan mines were, and they were coming.
Damn it. Damn it, Preston. You're right that it's like it is the Harangan mines are just like the White Walkers, where there was a war in the past and everybody's forgot and people are like they don't exist anymore. Oh my god, you're right. There really wasn't an interesting story there. It's just the story we're reading. You're right. It's just
Right, but he's just
recycled
like
idea.
he like when he decided to stop writing Avalon, he actually kept writing Avalon.
Oh my
It was
god.
just he changed the setting. That's all he did. He just he's
Oh
like,
my
I had
god.
this
That would be so
idea
funny if he
about
said that.
he's like, I had this idea about this, about these direwolves in the snow. And like originally it was five like space weasels like on like underneath a Duraloy like Duraloy like rubble, and he's like they're in a pile of like shattered Duraloy, and this brand was a Promethean, genetically engineered Promethean, and oh man,
Oh my god. What were the things in Dying of the Light? The bat things? They're like they look like giant manta rays that like
oh right, the Banshees.
the banshees. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
they
find
just calls
three
them
banshee
Banshees.
pups.
He had a boring name for them, but yeah, they were
Yeah.
like flying manta rays. Yeah, man,
Oh
oh
my
man.
god. I'll like oh my gosh, I'll stop talking about Thousand Worlds. I'm like also I'd want to ask him like was there any more Tough? Like was Tough's story just going to end with the food trilogy? Like was that just
That's a
what was
really
going to
good
happen?
one too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're obviously not going to do any tough now, but like, did you think you were going to do more tough? Like,
Was there
or
more
like,
Tough?
or when he did the fix up, because like the, he had the three short stories, and then when he merged them, he wrote the food trilogy and the plague star to sort of like bring it all together. And I wonder if he was just like, that's a book and it's done, and then I don't need any more tough stories. Obviously, if tough would have like taken off, he would have written more. Or if if it ever got picked up as an HBO show, he would have written more probably.
Because that's the thing is it ends like pretty downer. It's like a downer ending, you know? And like you get the idea that Tough is carrying on, like that like he's gonna have more adventures, like with the food
Mhm.
trilogy that what's her name accepts the horrible responsibility of like sterilizing her own race or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Um and then she's like tough as a god now and stuff like it feels kind of like the end but I was like when I finished I remember when I finished like the tough trilogy the tough voyaging series I was like kind of want more you know like
yeah.
it feels empty.
But this is why, like, when people, when I throw out the idea that maybe at the end of Ice and Fire, like human beings kind of are given a sense of community, and they kind of become a hive mind, and it's a little bit
Mm.
bittersweet because they lose a little bit of their individuality, but it's to save the human race. Like the end of Tough Voyaging was kind of in my head on that, because it's like the end of Tough Voyaging is like, well, it's very clear that humans can't govern themselves, and so what I'm going to do to solve that, because you're having way too many kids, is that, like, I'm going to sterilize you to a point where the perfect amount of, like, what was it, like, it was a sterilization point in which, brings them back to 2.1, like, children or
Yeah.
whatever, like it was like the perfect amount of sterilization, because, like, it just brought down, it like just demolished all the women's fertility until they got to 2.1, and that was it, because they couldn't govern themselves. um and so it was kind of a similar idea with, like, oh, would he be able to do that with Ice and Fire, you know
Mm. And you're
um
right. You're right that like it is like there's philosophical themes, like heavy themes, like it's kind of dark. It's like humans cannot govern themselves. Like democracy doesn't work. Like the idea that people being equal and stuff. Like you need an authoritarian like scientist basically to it's interesting. Oh my gosh, it's such a like a I don't know if
Right. And
George
this is
believes that
why I fucking
anymore.
asked him about fucking Plato's Republic. And then he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, damn it. How is that possible?
Because oh my gosh, and like I will the food trilogy is not great.
No, no, I think
It's
it's the worst
okay.
part. It's the worst story. Yeah,
It's filler. There's so much filler.
absolutely.
It
It's
could
the,
be
it's the
knocked
same
out
story. I
in
mean,
one.
if it were one story, I'd be like, fine. But it's three
Yeah,
stories of the same story. It's the same exact
yeah.
story three times.
It's oh my gosh. But the final line is good. The final like George, you're right. We talked about that George is great with endings
George is great with
where
that.
he's like they
Yeah.
could like I know it in my head. Like that's the thing is I read this like 3 years ago and I know I can quote it that like they called her Tally Moon and the histories called her all kinds of things or something like that. It's like kept very simple that she is like looked back on that she's like this horrific
Yeah.
person now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, oh my gosh, like the way we look at like Hitler or something like that, or it's Stalin. Oh, it's good stuff. The thing with Tough too is Tough is like I mapped out the timeline, like where all the stories in Thousand Worlds universe is, and Tough is the last
It's
one,
the
like
last one, right?
chronologically.
So if
Yeah,
there were a return, like, his seed ship needs to, like, obviously that would be like one of the major things to fight the Harangan mines, would be the last seed ship.
right.
Like if you were writing Avalon, like, and and you say, okay, what's my plot? Well, my plot is I'm gonna have the Harangan mines return. Oh fuck, well, that's a big exciting thing. Okay, and then we have this big story of all these different planets and all these different characters, like trying to work together, and then they kind of realize that, oh my god, we need to find Tough and his seed ship. Oh, but what happened to Tough? Well, we're gonna have to go out and search for him, or something. And then you bring in Tough.
Last Jedi.
Well,
He's living on an island, drinking the green milk. He's like
drinking the green
disillusioned.
milk.
It's oh my gosh, it's funny talking about this stuff because it's like a failed like universe, right? Like it's a failed
Yeah,
universe. Like this, like in an alternate universe, people would be talking about the Thousand Worlds. Like, oh man, that was great. The
that was
great
great.
final battle and stuff. And oh my gosh, yeah,
But I mean, in a way, like, obviously it's, um specifically Night Flyers. Like, if there were no Night Flyers, he wouldn't have. He needed that money. He needed
he
the
needed that
money from
money.
selling Night Flyers in order to, like, continue on. Oh.
It's so weird to me that Night Flyers is the because Night Flyer is like kind of sucks. Night Flyer,
I know. But it's a lot about
it's
what's adaptable.
that's
Like, how are
true.
you gonna, like, I don't know. I mean, if you were gonna, maybe I could see the glass flower being adapted. I could see that one, but you couldn't, like, the Stone City wouldn't work. Like,
Nah,
what's the
Stone City.
Stones? That would be a horrible that would be a horrible movie.
I'm also
Even
like
though,
thinking like, what's the cheat? Stone City would be awful. As in, people would be like, "What the fuck was that?" That's
right. He's like
oh
arguing in a
god, like
bar, and then all of a sudden he's wandering halls. Like, what
these
the?
wandering halls and the
It's a
shed
great
boss, just
story,
like
but it would be a horrible thing to adapt, right?
yeah.
You know.
Oh my god, like and also like I think like Night Flyers, like you don't have to worry about costumes and stuff
Mm.
like because like I'm like thinking like Seven Times Never Kill Man, that's pretty good one to adapt, but I'm like, oh, the Jane She costumes, like I don't know.
It's almost too harsh. I think like
Yeah.
'cause there's too much child murder in Seven Times Never Kill
Oh
Man to
yeah,
be.
it's not marketable, you're
But
right.
like a
It's
song
too
for Leah would
dark.
be too boring. Would be too boring
Yeah.
to adapt things like that. So, oh. But anyway, let me answer a few of these.
Yes, yeah,
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 so I
sorry.
talked about Randall and Dickon. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do with Randall. I think Randall would probably get captured by Aegon. Meanwhile, Dickon would be captured by Sweet Robin's crew, and so there's a kind of a split there. But would Randall be executed? Maybe. I don't know how he would get along with, or would he be a traitor and like just bend the knee to Aegon? I'm not sure. Um,
Yeah, what's Randall's D? Like, is Randall like an opportunist or is he like I'm trying to figure out Randall.
yeah, I mean, the only thing we kind of know about him is that I mean, I guess he's an opportunist in the sense that he followed Renly,
Yeah.
and and now is with the Tyrells following Tommen. So he just, I guess,
Like the thing that I always thought was contradictory was him following Mace. Like Mace kind of is like Sam, where he's like a kind of like a weak guy, like
yeah,
he's not like particularly strong, he's not like smart, he's like kind of dummy, and he's not like he doesn't have courage, like he's not like he's a kind of a coward. But Randall's like his subservient guy, like
right,
he's
right,
underneath him. So he like it's kind of like I don't know. I feel like that might be interesting to explore later. That like he respect Mace? Is it just for
yeah,
show? I don't know.
yeah. I mean, his whole thing is like, how butch and macho can he be? He's like so obsessed with his manhood and like what it is to be a man.
Hmm.
Um, how would he? I mean, that's the thing is like he would probably be uncomfortable around John Connington, knowing that John Connington's gay, and all these sorts of things. If he thinks about those things, if that stuff
Hmm.
comes up, So, yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is so far in the book we've just been given this kind of like harsh thing about Randall. Like he hates women. He's super macho. I think he's an opportunist. Um, I want to say there's some weirdness at the port, right? Where his men get into an argument about gambling with some like foreign traders, and he weirdly sides with the foreign traders. It was very odd, but it was like
Hmm.
about like Randall's sense of justice, and like his character is given to us in how he distributes justice at that port with Brienne, and he's just horrible. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's pretty psychotic. Here's a random black hole appears and sucks up all the remaining brave companions. Problem solved. Yeah, I mean, but they need to be killed by Brienne, or at least Zolo the
Yeah.
Fat needs to be killed by Brienne.
Yeah, him putting Zola the Fat so far away in Old Town was not like oh he screwed himself over. He should have had said like Zola went north. He went
You're
to the
right.
neck or something, right?
He went to bend the knee to Stannis. Oh, geez, well that's easier.
Just a random fat Dothraki shows up in the Crofters village. He's like,
Yeah, and I was like, what? Why are
It's like
you here?
Richard Horp is like, Stannis, we found a guy for us. Somebody who's joining us. And it pans over, it reveals Zolo. And it's like, oh shit, it's
He's
Zolo.
been starving for a while. He's called Zola the Fat, but he's actually average sized. I don't understand. I don't understand why they call him Zola the Fat. Um, so can you say what's up with
Ooh.
Karth's walls? What makes them built in reverse? What's it imply? Also, Shadrach is Howland Reed. Love your work as always. So my theory about why Karth's walls are in reverse is, and some people say, Preston, you're overthinking it. Like George just fucked up. But I don't know. I think that the reason they're in reverse is because you have to rethink their whole history. That in fact the red waste is a waste because there was a nuclear fallout. Okay, there's a nuclear destruction, and so um, you then kind of like go in reverse and say, okay, where they when they come out. I mean, it's like shit. It's like do the fancy walls predate the nuclear explosion, and then do they come out and build the stone walls, and then the sandstone walls like last? Um, what sucks is that I talked to my geologist friends, and they're like, "Oh, all the he's like the stones of the walls are really ridiculous because they wouldn't be in the same place."
Hmm.
So what he's talking about here? Let's get to Okay, so Danny took the warlock's words well salted. 3 walls encircled Karth, elaborately carved. The outer was red sandstone, 30 feet high, and decorated with animals, snakes slithering, kites flying, fish swimming, intermingled with wolves of the red waste and striped zorses and monstrous elephants. The middle wall, 40 feet high, was gray granite, alive with scenes of war, a clash of swords and shields and spears, arrows in flight, heroes at battle and babes being butchered, pyres of the dead. The innermost wall was 50 feet of black marble with carvings that made Danny blush until she told herself that she was being a fool. Um,
Hmm.
and so the first time you read this, you go, okay, what do we associate sandstone walls with, right? We associate sandstone walls with like primitive cultures, and here we have nature on the walls. And then next we have granite walls and war. So we see a progression in technology. And then we see like the final walls of marble with there being peace, and we kind of associate with modernity. And so on a
Hmm.
first read, you're like, oh, we're going from a nature world, then and then a war world that created the waste maybe, and then this final stage of like trade and modernity that Karth is going through, and each time they build taller and taller walls. The problem is that granite and sandstone don't exist in the same place. No one would ever fucking build sandstone walls and granite walls in the same place.
Hmm.
But oh well. Like why would you ship it? Like why would you ship in granite? Like what are you doing? But okay.
It's
Um,
also interesting. You've brought this
yeah.
up before, but it's interesting that the progression goes in as opposed to like out. Like you
Right.
think of like Roman cities, they expand outward and they build
Right.
walls
So
progressively further
everything's
away.
backwards, right? So
Yeah.
in fact, according to this story, the peaceful time is the innermost wall. Like that's the oldest time. And then they built this second wall later outside the granite, and then things somehow went to this natural wall last. Like what's going on? Like how is this happening? Like
Yeah.
does that can we come up with like a logical narrative that goes that direction? Because then there's the red waste. So the red waste is last. So somehow, yeah, I don't know. I can't make sense of it.
It's for me, it's very clear that George was inspired by the walls of Babylon.
Mm.
with them because they were if you read like Herodotus or something, like he describes them very much like the walls of Carth, that they were the ridiculously big walls, and they're elaborately painted. Like I think blue is like the color of the walls of Babylon, and there's like fragments of it that still survive today, where they have like lions and dragons and stuff on the outside of the wall. So like I don't know, maybe he was like trying to be like, well, guess what? It's three walls instead of one massive wall. Like I don't know, I don't know what George
Yeah.
was thinking there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think like, okay, say there's,
Let me find my Herodotus.
I'm
Let's
even
see. I'm
splitting
interested
it
to see
up.
how similar, because George does like rip off Herodotus sometimes with
Yeah.
like to the point where he quotes it. Uh,
But I'm trying to
Babylon
think like,
Wall.
even if they went underground and they were like living underground and they came out, why would they build that last wall? And why would they put snakes and fish and kites flying and things like that? And why build it lower?
Hmm.
Like why build shorter walls further out? Um,
These walls are. Let's see. Uh, Divide the city into two parts. Walls are the city's most outermost. Within them, there is another encircling wall. Oh, okay. Babylon does have two walls. Okay, so
okay.
these walls are the city's outer armor. Within them, there is another encircling wall, well nigh as strong as the other, but narrower. Division of the city, the royal palace. Does it talk about like how colorful they are? I know they're real. They were very pretty.
Yeah, I mean the gates of Ishtar, right? On Babel.
Yeah.
Um, they still, yeah. I mean, a lot of the Iraqi embassies abroad will make their facade look like this. So, like the Iraqi embassy in Jordan, for example.
Where does it give the dimensions?
So, for instance, here's the Iraqi embassy in Jordan that I used to pass by a lot because it was at, and so they would put the gates of Ishtar at the front. Yeah. But I mean, in general, I think like the implication is that something's wrong with Karth's history, and it's not the progression that we're thinking that it go that things were great and then it fell into a big war and then they have this like moment of modernity, like that something is up, like, and I the there was some apocalyptic event that sent them all underground. The other thing that's weird about the Carthene is they're super pale and they live in a big hot desert. That's another thing where you're just like, that doesn't make any sense. They should be tan,
Hmm.
right? Nothing really makes sense about skin color in Ice and Fire World. The Valyrians are also super pale, and they're down south. The Rhoynish are are dark of skin, and they are up, on the
All the way.
Rhoyne, fairly
Yeah.
far north. So like everything is kind of screwed up in the world, and I think it's the implication is that there's some sort of you know advanced civilization that existed before the medieval civilization where people were in different places, people were underground, they got pale underground, mass migrations happened and things like this. Like today, like, you could say, okay, well, there's a huge black population in Minneapolis. But if somebody, if everything fell to medieval times and everyone's like, why are there these black people in Minnesota? Like it wouldn't make any sense, right? But that's exactly what we have here in Ice and Fire. We have all these people that are the wrong skin color. Um, when it comes to like evolutionary migrations and things like that, the all around the world in different places. So Um, People don't think about it because they're like, oh, but the Dornish, they're in Spain. Dorne is Spain, and the Spanish, have that Mediterranean look to them, and it's like, well, no, they're actually from, from the Rhinish, but yes, I mean, the long story short, Dane Box is I haven't figured out the exact history of Karth on how those walls came about. I don't know if it can be squared, but the idea is that the history is completely off. Is the in general. Um, Thank you, Mu. Do the souls of the dragon riders remain in dragons they've ridden? Is this how Drogon destroys the throne in the books?
There's there's hints of that in Fire and Blood with we joked about this
Mm,
because there's Vermithor and Silverwing like act like they're a couple, and like the
yeah,
idea is that Jaehaerys and Alysanne's souls went in them or whatever their consciousness went in them, like as a second life. But
right.
you made the point where Jaehaerys and Alysanne like really didn't have that
Didn't really
happy of
like
a
each other.
marriage.
Yeah. So, um, but I definitely think that you're right. That I think definitely the piece of their soul is definitely still in the dragon as a second life. I think that's definitely the case. Because if the dragons mimic the rider, which apparently they seem to, um, right? Like when we hear about like I'm trying to think of like Caraxes, all right, red, huge, lean, fearsome. In battle, he was formidable, fearsome, and experienced.
Hmm.
But he was in the end of his life old but cunning. That's Damon. I mean, that's not any different than Damon. Like it's not like they're like, what was a fat old dragon who or like Balerion was specifically Balerion was a fat old dragon, and Viserys was a fat lazy king, right? So like
Hmm.
you definitely get the similarities. Who's affecting whom is the question, right? But I guess they're both affecting each other, right? Like
Hmm.
so the dragons are affecting the riders are affecting
I
each other.
I never thought of this with Danny. That Drogon is like it might be like Danny, or that he might be influencing her. That I think that's interesting.
Yeah, that actually Danny's fine, and that the Drogon ruined her.
Yeah, is that what we're gonna see? Is that like it's like Rickon, like where?
Yeah, right. Um, I mean, definitely her personality shifts when he comes to the Daznak's pit and stuff like that.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, I imagine it has to be. There has to be some sort of second, like some idea of the second life. But I think that um, Vermeer Sixskin says that you eventually kind of fade. I think um, in this with your second life. Um, the second life is simpler, sweeter. They say no second life for you. Let me begin my second life. I do want, yeah, maybe he gets to live in there, but I'm trying to think if you like your consciousness fades within.
I think he did say that. I remember that being said that like all fades with time or something like that.
Here we go. When the man's flesh dies, his spirit lives on inside the beast, but every day his memory fades, and the beast becomes a little less a warg, a little more a wolf, until
Hmm,
nothing of the man is left, and only the beast remains.
that's awesome.
So, oh man, do I want to spoil this? I mean, how many people are watching this moment where my idea in the fanfic? So I've come up with this idea that like Ghost would be the final um, uh, like the epilogue of the Winds of Winter. That we're like, where did John go? Where did John go? Where did John go? The whole story, but then like you then finally get Ghost, and John is alive inside Ghost, but everybody dies in prologues and epilogues, right?
Mhm.
And so like his death is not getting killed, but like fading. His death is like fading away,
That's
you know,
good.
but it is the idea. Um, like an unexpected way that John fades away into Ghost, and that Ghost can continue on as a character. But I think they even say, but they do say with Orell's Eagle that like even like subconsciously like that, the hatred of Jon Snow was still in it, and that Varamir Six Skins like felt it.
Ghost will be really good at oral sex.
Yes, yes. Oh man. um can we talk about the motivation of the catspaw? See other message. Can we um I'm not talking about who sent him, but what was his plan? He says Cat wasn't supposed to be there. So if everything went according to plan, what's the point of the fancy dagger? Was he just supposed to go? Which makes me think it was time traveling Bran that sent the Catspaw because he was tired of trying to get the golden timeline. So he was going to unalive himself while he was in the coma. Um oh. Well, I mean, if he's trying to get the right timeline, he needs Cat to leave Winterfell so that he can be alone at Winterfell, so that he can hide in the crypts and do the whole thing and go north. Had his mom been around, she would have never let him go. Come on, he would have never gone if he had anything left at Winterfell. So the Catspaw dagger has to happen for him to go on his spiritual journey. That's just not happening with Cat around, with Ned around or Cat around. He's got to have both of them leave. So, um, but what in a very specific sense, like what is the Catspaw dagger? What is the Catspaw wanting? Well, he's got a bag of silver, so he was paid. Um, and Cat, did they make a Jesus reference there? How much silver was it? Oh, it was nine.
I
No,
think
it's
it's
90 silver stags. Okay, it's not.
oh,
It's not
it's
three
not
pieces of,
12.
yeah, or whatever. Yeah, it's not 12 pieces of silver, but it's still a little bit, right? It's still a little bit
Yeah.
Christ-like. Um. So so he's getting paid, and I guess he gets to keep the dagger. I mean,
That would make more sense at least because yeah, in the story, like that amount of silver it means nothing, like
yeah.
people throw away that money around like if it was dragons, right? Because like we got to see Nimble Dick. Like Nimble Dick wants 2 gold coins for like a week of his life or something like that, right?
I
Like
mean, we don't know if like so Cat has this sarcastic line after it, and you don't know how sarcastic it is. He had 90 silver stags in a leather bag buried beneath the straw. She says, "It's good to know my son's life was not sold cheaply," Catelyn said bitterly. Now, obviously, the sarcasm is there in that it's not good to know. This is not good to know. But was it not sold cheaply? Is 90 silver stags a lot? At this point, I know like retcons happen and 90 silver stags is nothing. Um,
I think
Right.
it's even less because this is the story where, like, at this point, you have the hands turning where they're just
Right. The hands turning
throwing around.
10,000. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because 90 silver stags is definitely less than a gold dragon, like by a lot. I think the
yeah.
exchange rate is something like 240. At 240 in the time, like I understand this is all floating currencies. Okay, there's no fixed exchange rate, but I think in the hedge night, his exchange rate is around 240 or 200. It's around 200 silver stags to the gold dragon, but yeah, it's not very much. So she must be being doubly sarcastic here. It's good to know my son's life was not sold cheaply. Um,
So okay, all right. This is Storm of Swords. I don't know how useful it is. One silver stag can get you a bushel of corn.
right,
So you
90
get like
bushels of
90
corn,
bushels
man.
of corn.
It's nothing.
It's not too bad, I guess. Okay, okay, right here. A baker who mixes sawdust into his flour might be fined. Oh, this is Randall Tarley. Might be fined 50 silver stags. So, and I guess with Randall Tarley, that's a ridiculous fine, right? Like that's supposed to be high.
Hmm.
It's like hard to keep track of everything.
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's obviously for a small folk person. That's like many months' wage or something. I don't know.
Mm.
But okay, what was the cat spaw's motivation? I mean, the only thing that I think is weird about the cat spaw's motivation is why did he not? Why did he actually go through with it? If he was paid, just take off. Don't do it. Right? Like, um, who's who?
And we have to believe that Joffrey was behind it, right? Like we can't just be like coping and saying like, oh, it wasn't actually
Oh, that
Joffrey, it
was
was
Mance or
Mance Raider.
Littlefinger.
Yeah.
I mean, I've literally, well, it's been changed in the fanfic, but like, I had
'Cause
Tyrion rethink it in the fanfic, and him going, "Nah, it wasn't Joffrey. It was," and he thinks it's Jamie now, like which we know it's
Jamie?
not.
Oh my gosh.
Well, just realistically, like once Tyrion rethinks, like he thinks so much of his brother and thinks his brother wouldn't do it. But then
Oh, now
Jamie
he doesn't
reveals
know
that
his
he's
brother.
horrible, that he
Yeah,
reveals Taisha. So shouldn't Tyrion rethink who killed the
everything.
catspaw now?
Yeah. I like that. Okay, I do like that.
Yeah.
Who did it end up being in the show? Is it just not never said
It's
who the
never
Catspaw Dagger?
said, and I think it's just implied that it's Littlefinger. It's never said in the
Okay.
show. It's just kind
That's
of
so
implied that
funny.
it's
That's so
Littlefinger.
funny that it's like the core thing that like kicks off the story and nobody gives a shit by the end of
By
this
the end,
at the
yeah.
end of Game of Thrones.
I mean, I think his motivation is just money and a free Valyrian dagger, which makes the line even better. Like when she's like, "I'm glad it's good to know my son's life was not sold cheaply." Well, actually, it really wasn't if it's the Valyrian dagger because the Valyrian dagger is pretty fucking expensive.
It's pretty
So
priceless.
yeah, so like it wasn't sold cheaply. So he's gonna do it, and then he's gonna. I guess maybe he's so scared of the person that hired him that he doesn't want to double cross them.
Mm.
Which,
That's
um,
why it's Mance Raider. He's like,
like, I'm
shit,
gonna come back here if you
I'm
don't
gonna come
find
back
you.
here.
But Littlefinger could make that threat too, and he'd probably believe,
Uh,
okay. Meanwhile, Joffrey, I don't know.
are there any other like culprits that people have found that are like less, that are like Uncle Benjen or something like that? Is there
I mean,
anything
I've
like
heard
that?
some jokes. I've heard some jokes like Cat sent the um the cat's paw. Like that would just be like, what? Like Rob sent the cat's paw. The real
Like who okay, I gotta look back at who was in like Robert's retinue. Like who was there? What did they leave already? Did they leave yet?
yeah, they'd left.
Oh, they
They're
left.
all
Okay.
gone. Yeah,
Can't
yeah.
be Well, then Joffrey was in his retinue, so it can actually be somebody in the retinue. He just left somebody behind.
Yeah, and he says Lewin says something really weird. He's like, "We've had no other visitors from the south," and you're like, "Well, so you've had visitors from the north? I don't like
Yeah.
what and what do you mean the south? Do you mean like the direction of the south, or do you mean south of the neck? Like
Mm.
so, you know, but no, I've never seen any serious. The only serious other culprits I've heard is Littlefinger or Mance Rayder, which
Well,
both
that's
I
because
think
you
would,
get motivations.
yeah, yeah.
That's true.
Or
Are
time.
we
I mean, I
okay? Are
guess time
we
traveling Bran doing it to himself. I've heard
okay?
that one too. the
I've been meaning to ask you this since last weekend, I think, or something like that. You were talking about like the prophecies, like the sun's
mm,
son and everything. The one thing that I always found was weird is like Kraken and Dark Flame. Like Dark Flame is very clearly what's his name?
mm,
Makoro.
Mokora, yeah,
Is but like it was very always weird that like Marwyn's on his way and Quaithe doesn't mention Marwyn in her little
yeah, that's right.
prophecy thing. It always
Yeah,
bothered me, and I'm like, this is where you get
in
the best evidence that it's Makoro. Like Makoro's
yeah,
hidden or something.
in previous drafts, it was Crow. It was something. In previous draft, it was Crow, but Victorian died, and so the idea was that Euron was definitely going to go to Slaver's Bay. I'm trying to remember um, the original thing. Um, Kraken and I'm sure someone will tell me in the chat here what the original one. It was something like Crow, but it was pretty clear that the original it was supposed to be Euron, and then it got
Mm.
changed to Victorian when George changed his mind on killing Victorian and keeping him alive, which also changes like who it is in the House of the Undying Vision. It changes from Euron to Victorian. Um, if Vargo and the Brave Companions aren't connected to Doran through Qyburn, then don't other parts of the Dornish master plan fall apart, removing preoccupying Kingsguard, Sugar Skull, Cersei's trial? Which parts you plan on salvaging? Um, I mean, I'm keeping the full thing in there. I mean, I'm definitely keeping Qyburn being part of the Dornish master plan. So, but does it fall apart if you were to take one piece out? Um, I don't think it had to. It's just, you could say that like Qyburn wasn't aware of something, but so the idea, I mean, it's not just through Qyburn. The idea is if you have Marwyn, you've got this connection because Marwyn knows Qyburn, and Marwyn would know Oberyn at the Citadel because they studied together, and then, um, and then Oberyn would have the sellsword company and stuff like that. Like you don't necessarily need a connection of Doran to Qyburn, but you can have you still have the same sorts of connections being made. I mean the connect like God. Now I feel like mapping this out again because it's kind of right because we've got Marwyn and we kind of know that Marwyn is in the um, is connected to Sorella,
You're right that it doesn't take too many degrees of connection. Because you're right
right?
that Marwyn and Qyburn are close. They're like buddies.
Yeah,
And then Marwyn's close with Sorella, so it doesn't really take that much.
right. And then how much is Sorella in on things? I don't know. Oberyn, right? And then we kind of know that um, Qyburn and Marwyn are together, right? So we know that Morella and Marwyn and Sorella are connected, and we know that Sorella and Oberyn are connected, and we know that Qyburn and Marwyn are connected. But the thing is Oberyn also studied at the Citadel, so it's like,
Mm.
is it a big jump to say that Oberyn knew Marwyn and Qyburn? You know, by itself, this isn't like that weird, especially considering that, like, I mean, logically speaking, Oberyn's this dude that studies poisons. He likes traveling the world. He's uh, I mean, Qyburn's traveled the world. Marwyn's traveled the world. They're all studying poisons. They all like talking to people internationally. Like, they would totally hang. It's sort of like, running into, if you found out that Oberyn was a Manchester United fan and Marwyn was a Manchester United fan and Qyburn was a Manchester United fan and they were all in the same dorm, and like, would they be watching the games together? Well, yeah, they'd be watching the games together. Like, they would definitely have so much to to talk about, logically speaking. But of course, like, books aren't written necessarily on logic; they're written on what our author came up with. Do I think, like, our author was thinking about who Oberyn was hanging out with at the Citadel? I don't know. It might be that, like, George goes to the same well when he wants to make people sound interesting. And he's just like, I want to make them sound interesting. Well, they're well traveled and they're totally into poisons and they studied at the Citadel. He just throws that in to make somebody seem interesting, and he just does it all over the place, which is quite possible. But logically speaking, though, they should fucking know each other, or of each other, and they're all into the same fucking things. Dark magic. They're all into dark magic. They're all into international travel. They're all into hanging out with sex workers. Like, this. They're all the same dudes.
Is there anybody that we know that, like, because that's the thing about Oberyn that's weird, that he forged, like, that you could forge some of the chain of a maester and then just not finish the rest. You just get the education and then take it and go. You don't have to serve and be celibate and stuff. Do we know of any other people that do that? Like, that
Yeah.
studied
There's
at the
there's
Citadel?
the some of the Strongs in Fire and Blood. Um,
Oh. Oh, and you're right
yeah,
that Horsebane did
yeah, and
too.
Horsebane Umber, yeah, Horsebane Umber, um, and then, yeah, some Strongs, Lionel Strong, and did it, and Oberyn. But I imagine you can just, like, get into the program. Like, I think maybe, like, you take your vows to become a maester. I just don't know if, like, are acolytes and novices allowed to fuck, like, before they become maesters, or can you not fuck while you're at the Citadel in training?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all going to the they're all, well, I mean, it's kind of like Molestown, right? It's like celibate, ha ha, wink wink. No, they're all fucking, because they're all going to the Quill and Tankard, which is filled with sex workers. So it's just,
Does Baylor Hightower also study? I'm like looking at this. Maybe he did. No.
of course, the Citadel would be packed with people if it were real. I mean, why wouldn't every small folk be like,
Yeah.
I'll go to study at the Citadel? Like, it would just be, there'd be too many people. Um, when Ned dies, Bran dreams that Ned is sad about John. What do you think this is really about? Visions sent by Bloodraven, or time traveling Bran, or actual Ned somehow? Well, so yeah, I mean, we got to remember that when a Game of Thrones is written, George hasn't come up with Bloodraven. Maybe he's come up with time traveling Bran, probably time traveling Bran. But I'm trying to think. Let's see. Let me find the quote here and how much he thinks. Bran. Okay, good. Bran only mentions John 45 times. um. Here we go. John peered through the tube. It was something to do with John, I think. The dream had been deeply disturbing, more so than the other crow dreams. Hodor won't go down into the crypts. Um, is it that one or is there another one? Because obviously, like the crypts are it's a reoccurring one with the crypts and John feeling dead and or feeling cold, I should say. John feeling cold and feeling like he doesn't belong, and everybody in the crypts being like, "Get out." And that one just keeps happening over and over again. And there's many points in the story where John feels cold, um, waking up from dreams because he's always dreaming about the crypts, and what all foreshadowing John's death. The idea of him being cold. Um, but I'm trying to think of like what else. What else is John of his something to do with peered through his tube. Let me make sure you get the previous line here. Mm, 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 mm. I dreamed about the crow again last night, the one with three eyes. He flew into my bedchamber and told me to come with him, so I did. We went down to the crypts. Father was there, and we talked. He was sad. And why was that? It has something to do with John, I think. Um, hmm. I mean, I suppose it's just supposed to be like he's sad about Liana or something, and he's sad he never told John like his Liana was his mom is the idea. Um, but this it comes John being cold, it comes back many times, and the kings come back many times, but and death being in the crypts comes back over and over again. But I think it's just that. I suppose he's just sad. He's sad about Liana, and he's sad about John. Um, that's it. I mean, the whole story doesn't. You can get in circles, like analyzing everything in a Game of Thrones about John and the dreams and the broken promises, and the story doesn't really fit. But more or less, it seems to be that. It seems to just be John was Ned was sad that he never told John about his mom or something. That's about it. You know, um, I don't know. The But yeah, is it sent by time traveling Bran? Um, I mean, I suppose it has to be if it's sent. I mean, it's sent by the crow. Um, and we know that John is like important to Bran's mission somehow. Like John and Bran have this connected dream about the crypts over and over and over again. Um, the two of them, so they are linked with regards to it. So I mean, I guess it has to be. It has to be um, time traveling Bran sending himself this vision, and the question is like oh, and to like eventually he has to go hide in the crypts, like in order to pull John into his big master plan of creating the perfect timeline or something. Orchestrating John to be the thing is like we know that orchestrating John to be Lord Commander is part of whatever plan time traveling Bran has, and John going to become John um, going to the Wall and becoming Lord Commander. It's predicated on him never finding out about his mom. Like it's predicated on him like believing he had no place at Winterfell and that he wasn't a Stark and he wasn't. I mean, and all of that. Um, so he needs to, you know, John needs to believe this lie in order to become Lord Commander to fulfill whatever plan Bran has. Um, um, would Lady Stoneheart kill pregnant Rosalind if she got her hands on her? Does Edmure even make it out of the Winds of Winter? Would Bran would would make Bran the heir to River Run? Um, well, that's debatable on who the heir to River Run would be here. I think first of all, like the heir would go to it would be an argument whether it would go to the Blackfish or to Bran. But you're saying that if that Rosalind's spawn, Rosalind and Edmure's child would would because at first you're like, why would she kill Rosalind? And the idea is that if she killed the Frey child, then or the Tully Frey child, then it would we would not have a Tully. Um, we would not have Rosalind's child be heir, but instead it would go to Bran. But I mean, and this is going through this idea that well, if Edmure's gone, then it would go to the next. It would then go to the eldest daughter, which is Catelyn, but she's dead, so it would go to her eldest living son, which would be Bran. Um, but that's not quite how we know things work in Westeros. We know that that there's they do primogeniture, but they also do proximity, and and so there's proximity in the family tree, and so you could argue that like the closest heir might be the uncle versus the dead sister's like son, but even beyond that, but okay, maybe it would go to Bran. But is Bran anywhere for does Lady Stoneheart know that Bran is alive? And would she think that Bran? I mean, Bran is the heir to Winterfell too. So I guess if she wanted a place for Rickon, if she wanted Rickon to take it, but this is over Sweet Robin. Uh, it's a little too. I think it's a little too convoluted for zombie Stoneheart who just wants to kill people and get revenge on like thinking about who would inherit the twins and if she's going to murder her her nephew by Edmure in order to give Bran or Rickon another seat when they already have Winterfell. So that's a bit. It's a bit. I would say it's a bit much to think that like Lady Stoneheart would be thinking about succession and wanting to give Bran or Rickon River Run over Edmure's child. Like she likes her brother, you know, like
I
she
always thought
likes
like
him.
Lady Stoneheart, her plans are very like primitive too. Like it's just like she's not like a schemer or anything. It's like just
Right, almost
revenge.
like Lady Stoneheart's plans are almost like bluntly primitive, right? like I'm going to kill every Frey that was involved in the Red Wedding, and Merritt Frey is like, I barely was involved. Like it doesn't matter, you know. Like there's not very
Yeah.
much nuance with her, right?
Yeah,
We
people make all these like kind of convoluted like that like Lady Stoneheart's like a rational actor and stuff and intelligent and has a plan and it's just like I just haven't seen evidence of that, you know.
I mean, it's true. She is an undead zombie whose first thought is, let's kill all the Freys and Jaime Lannister. And it's like, why are you killing Jaime Lannister? Because he because somebody said Jaime Lannister sends his regards, and I think he was involved with the Red Wedding. You know, like that's it. Uh, you're right that it's very primitive. Yeah. So no, I think it's a little far for her to suddenly be like, you know what I need to do. Even though I like my brother, I want to kill him. Well, the thing is, Edmure is still alive, so you know, um, in the situation of Edmure dying, would she then kill? Well, she doesn't even need to kill. Is Rosalind? Has Rosalind? No, Rosalind hasn't given birth yet, right? I'm trying to think like timeline
She thinks
wise.
Bran and Rickon are dead too.
She believes it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That doesn't make any sense. I don't know, because I don't see Lady Stoneheart being like like that scene with Littlefinger where he's like listing off the heirs of the Vale or whatever.
right.
He's like, yes, this guy was killed, and then his daughter was carried off by the burnt men and stuff. And like, I just like don't see Lady Stoneheart ever having like a scene like that. Like they're asking for,
Right.
they're kind of like expecting that. Lady Stone would be like, "Well, you see, it would pass to Bran and Rickon, not Uncle Blackfish and stuff." It's like,
Yeah, and in practice, like once you get that convoluted in the thinking of succession, the characters in story go, shut the fuck up, I'm just taking it. Like they just they don't even fucking care. Like no one's sitting around being like, well, technically, this is one of my problems about like John sitting the Iron Throne and all of this stuff, and someone sitting there being like, well, technically, they stood in front of a heart tree, and Targaryens are technically polyamorous and can do polygamy, and so technically, John is not a bastard. And you're like, no one's gonna. Everyone would just be like,
"Shut up!"
stop, shut the fuck up. Like I'm not doing that. Like like no one does. They have these videos. There are these very popular videos online on YouTube about if King Henry VIII's will was honored, who would be king today? And they go through like the
Oh
whole
yeah,
lines, and you're like, and it's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. And they find these random people. Some of them are lords and ladies still, and then some of them are not, and they're just like, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. It's like no, like yeah, too much legalistic thinking. But no, I don't. Yeah, I don't think Stoneheart wants to kill her brother or this random girl who knew nothing about it in order to allow one of her children to get River Run. I
like
think.
I like the idea of Lady Stoneheart being like a means to an end. Like it's just a way for us to have Brienne break her oath. Like that
Mm.
she has to kill her Mad King. Like I think that's great. That's all she needs. You don't need her running around doing more stuff because I don't know. There's only so much time left.
So the by the way, on this random question, this is getting back to the ice dragon burning a hole in the wall, and like the white dragon. It's such a strange, bold, somewhat creative idea that I'm like, I don't think it was D&D. I think it was George. Dragon Demands makes the comment that other things they did that were not in the book. For instance, having Sansa raped and things like that, and their ridiculous Dorne story. Um, doesn't that mean anything could be off the table? Could it be that D&D came up with the white dragon and the burning through the wall, or do you think, Trey, that it was could it be D&D, or do you think it's George?
It's hard for me. Like I go back and forth because you're right that like it is a very bold, but it's also like a very like action movie bro like thing to do. Like, what
Right.
if the White Walkers had a dragon? Like, I can see arguments for both ways. That it's like, wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah. Like I almost feel like the white dragon is clever enough, but like I agree that the burning the hole through the wall thing is just a little too obvious. Like
Yeah,
if you could just burn a
it's
hole
like
through the wall, wouldn't why didn't the wildlings do it? Like just build a big pyre, um, and melt the
it's
wall.
like it's very like Jurassic World brained to me. Like, I don't know, like that, like those, like where you have to just like push it further and further and further. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I
we
mean
need
you're
to have
right. And then at the end, the
big.
T Rex comes in and kills and grabs the Velociraptor. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So
mm,
now that I think of it, I'm convinced that D&D made up Ice Dragon. I think it's them.
all right, all right.
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I asked George, was the Ice Dragon your idea? And he goes, no, that sucked.
Black Walder or Littlefinger, that would be fun. Hire Zolo as a sellsword during the Frey Civil War. Yeah, so what's probably going to happen in the fanfic, and I've already set this up, is that because the Dornish master plan is in place in full effect. Sorella knows the brave companions, and so when when Sam wants protection to leave the city, he is going to hire the brave companions. And so the brave companions are going to be like escorting Sam and his friends out of the city, and heading back north is this idea. Um, and so that's where the fanfic is going. But man, but yeah, hire the sellswords to get him back up there. But he's saying hire him to get him back into fighting. Like, oh gosh, we need sellswords. Let's hire every sellsword available. And they're like, okay, we're going back up to the Riverlands to fight because Walder Frey is paying us. What happened to all the sellswords' money? Did they just spend it all? I don't.
What happened to those Tyrashi that Rob hired or whatever? Remember this?
Yeah. So George in an
Greenbeard's the
interview
only one.
said that he forgot about it, that guy, the Tyrashi
Oh,
Seltzer Company, because I think someone specifically asked, like, is Greenbeard one of those guys? And he's like, I had forgotten about them, but sure. I think he said something
oh my
like that,
god,
like, why not? And you're like, okay.
that's funny. Oh my gosh.
Um, Google finger creepers and tell me ice spiders aren't reanimated. Giant hands. Oh, so
Talked
some
about
people there's a video game where it's like a bunch of people riding human bodies, and the reason they're spiders is because it's like several human arms or whatever reanimated,
it.
and they're riding human bodies. But if ice spiders aren't giant hands, oops, finger creepers. Um, I'll have to see this finger creepers. Jeepers creepers.
Where'd you get those peas?
Oh, so finger creeper from Elden Ring.
Oh, look at that thing. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Of course,
We all kind of agree that like they can't actually be ice spiders. Like
right.
there's something weird, like, so specific. It's like ice spiders. You're like, oh, that's weird. Like, why ice spiders of all things? Like, there's got to be like something going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, but like riding naked human bodies and like with like limbs is way scarier. So it's it's just a better it's a better story. I forget when the oh well I'm never gonna find the whatever the animated dead body things that people were riding. Um, I guess the wall falling could happen off screen to the point of view character, and we just all have to speculate. I mean, it seems like a pretty exciting thing to end the winds of winter with, right? Like somebody observing the others getting past the wall. But yeah, like how is it done, or what? You know, I mean, I have an idea of what kind of I want, but yeah, it's not something that I guess that I'm trying to think. Like George also loves the letdowns, right? He loves like building up to something and then being like, "No, we're not going to do that. You, the wall is gonna fall," and then never fucking falls. Like the fucking end of Fever Dream, you know, um, or the end of Dying of the Light, or the end of like he loves the fucking letdowns. Like when we're gonna have this big falling of the wall, and then the wall never falls. Like the others just like went through Gorin's way and we never saw them, you know. And then they just start killing everybody, and they're like, "Oh God, how'd they get past the wall?" Mm-hmm. Gorin's way. Um,
You're right that it's almost like too obvious at this point for the wall to fall down that it would be refreshing for it not to.
It's funny. Mark G wants anyone with a Latina, and we're expecting our first in November, and she's planning the shower. I felt that balloon arch come into my soul. They all fucking the balloon arch. This is how fucking far behind them. We're talking about the balloon arch.
I know I've been distracting you.
Um. Oh, it doesn't matter. Even if you're not with here, I always get like. I always end up like behind like 2 hours. Like we come back to conversations we had like 2 hours previously. Had Robb sent anyone else but Theon, would Balon have attacked the Lannisters, or was he just prepared to lose Theon regardless? Um, I was under the impression that as much as Balon loathes Theon, he is not a kinslayer. And that is a super important aspect. Like, you know, like we think about Victarion and why he didn't kill Euron or why Euron wasn't executed for his crimes. And the answer is like because there's no kinslaying. Okay, there's just none of it. And so Theon, like, yeah, he was taken as a ward, and now the North, like, they can't attack. But the minute Theon is released, well, you know, the only thing that kind of um, goes against that idea is that when Theon gets back, they're all well into preparations, you know, and so the question is like, did they know that Theon was going to be released? Like how much in advance did Balon know that Theon was going to be released? Did he get a raven from Theon saying, "Hey, I'm coming," and he's like, "Oh fuck, prepare for war." Theon's getting released, you know, or was he gonna? Because why didn't he attack at any other point? You know, if it was if he wanted revenge on the North, couldn't he have attacked at or is he just waiting for a war? Was he just like, this is a perfect opportunity? I'm gonna have to get some more water probably pretty soon. So I mean, I was under the impression that he wasn't attacking because of Theon. That Theon as a ward was a successful thing, and that Rob's stupidity and Cat's "I told you so" on that like doesn't land if Balon was going to attack anyway. So I want to say like story wise, we need it. Like Cat specifically says, don't release Theon, and Rob does, and it leads to everything falling apart. If Balin was going to do it anyway, that aspect of the story is lost. Like the fact
Yeah.
that Cat was right and Rob's an idiot. Like we, so I want to say that like the full intention was that Theon being a ward was 100% complete in terms of uh, a deterrent, and that once they released Theon, the deterrent was gone, and that was the big mistake. So I'm pretty convinced that no, had Theon not been released, I think Balon would have done nothing. I think he would have done nothing. He would just been like, I guess I'm just going to sit here and twiddle my thumbs. But then, would Theon send a letter saying, "Hey, Dad, would you like to be part of the? Would you like to attack Casterly Rock and get land?" I guess he would have done that. I guess he would have attacked. I guess like had Rob said, "You cannot leave my side, Theon, but send your ravens and get your dad to attack Casterly Rock, and then you can have Casterly Rock as your seat." Um, it's a it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I guess he would have done that. I mean, it's just but he wouldn't have felt good about teaming up with the Starks. He would have done it, but he wouldn't have felt good about it because it puts him in a better position because now they have Casterly Rock, and he can then plan his revenge the minute Theon is let go. Like let's say Theon is then installed as the Lord of Casterly Rock, which is what Theon thought. Then Balon can attack. Like the minute Theon is, yeah. Oh, somebody's like, what? Corned beef is considered Irish in America? Yes. Irish Americans invented a food called corned beef. It's it's an Irish American thing. It's sort of like California rolls or something, or crab rangoons. The most China. By the way, like, so my wife is Chinese American. Her favorite Chinese food is crab rangoon, which of course is only at American Chinese restaurants. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, cream cheese, like fried cream cheese. Wait,
Somebody
did
pointed out,
did
yeah.
the Miko make a Tog Joth? I couldn't find it.
Yeah, yeah. When I was watching it earlier, I was gonna point it out too.
I'm so sorry. I will. I fully apologize. Oh my god, he's there. Fuck. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. There he is. My
Everybody's
apologies.
favorite, Togo Moth or whatever, Togo Jaw, Tog Jaw,
Tog Joth,
Star Wars glove ship name.
Tog Joth, and Asadora shipping. Uh, um,
There's a lot of gay in these because what's it called? Isn't doesn't Tyrion hire two gay Ibbenese like
who
guys to
seem to be
guard
really into
Shay?
each other. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. What a weird little detail that these like
it's weird because
Neanderthal.
it's so it's definitely like that line he's like clearly trying to demean them by being like, oh, they're so primitive that they're just like into each other. They're so primitive that they went gay because they're just so into each other, like, or something strange, you know. But it's like maybe they're just two gay guys who are married. Like it's just like leave it be, like who are like in love. Like, geez, Tyrion, homophobe. But I know exactly the line you're talking about because the Ibonese are rarely mentioned.
Yeah, they must have a thing where they're into to like homosexuality is common because like one asked for for Pod, like he asked for Pod or something like that when he was like walking
Mm.
by. So it's like a thing that they have like in their society that there's like it's
It
pederasty, something like
it
that. I don't know.
yeah, it does bother me how often the gay characters are associated with pedophilia though in the story. I mean,
Yeah,
it's true to life because people are anti-gay and they people make that insult all the time, but like it does still bother me reading like how many of the gay characters they're like, oh, they're just into boys, you know, you're like,
yeah, yeah. It's a because even like the quote unquote like pure relationships, right? Like the like Loris and Renly, it's kind of muddied by the fact that Renly's significantly older than Loris. Like,
yeah, yeah.
how bad is of a gap is it? It's not good, right?
22 and 16 or something. It's not as bad as I think it's not as bad as Rhaegar and Lyanna. Uh,
Yeah, like George could have aged. He could have aged Renly down a little bit. I don't know. Well, maybe not. The
um,
ages of the brothers are kind of weird to begin with, so maybe he couldn't do that.
let me
I
get
don't
the
know.
exact let me get the exact numbers here. So
Like, can
Loras
George just get?
Tyrell,
Yeah.
it was born in um 282, and so he's at a game when Ned arrives, he's about 16 years old at court, maybe 17, but 16. Um, Renly Baratheon is um, he's born in 277, so he's 5 years older. So he is 21, and Loras is 16. Yeah,
Okay.
you know.
You're right that it's something that's always bothered me that there's like no like non-problematic like gay relationships in the
Yeah.
Song of Ice and Fire.
And
Um,
what's funny because in the story, and this is how like ingrained we are, like ingrained people are, on being just like anti-gay and accepting certain things. If the relationship were 21 and 16, like with a man and a woman, people would be like, "Oh, that's not that bad." You're like, no, it's bad. Like 21 and 16 is bad, but people would like in story, people would be like, "Well, that's not that bad." Like,
a lot of readers are like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with Vhagar and Lyanna." Um, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Robert and Lyanna, like Rhaegar and Lyanna, like what's the like Robert being so in love with Lyanna for so long. So Lyanna is she's 16 when she dies. Okay. Meanwhile, I think Robert is Robert the is that 21 and 16 again? He's born in 262. So he is, yeah, it's 21 and 16 again.
oh,
It's, yep. And Rhaegar is
Vhagar is like late 20s, right? 30s.
uh 259, so he's a little bit older than Robert, but yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So 3 years. He's 24. 24 and 16. I mean, the only relationship in the fucking story, like, that you can be like, oh, that's a good relationship, is like Damon Sand and Ariane Martel and like Carl the Maid and Asha Greyjoy. Like those are like
Yeah.
the only non-problematic relationships
What
in
about
the whole.
John and Egret? Is that still problematic, or is there anything wrong
I
there?
think she's only a year older. I think it's fun. Yeah, something like that. I think
Yeah, but you're
she's
right. It's very few. There's very few in like the entire
right. It
story.
also like two consenting adults. Like even if you say like, oh well, Ned and Kat like they grew to love each other. You're like they were strangers having sex with each other. Like they had no like in an arranged marriage. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so you could say John and Egret. Um, yeah, Carl the Maid
You
and Asha. Uh,
How old is Dario? Like, how old is Dario to Danny? I'm assuming he's
I don't even know if
significantly
we know
older.
Dario's age. I don't know if he ever gives us any clue on Dario's age. Um,
Dario's actually 16 this whole time. He's a kid.
that would be funny. You're like, it turns out Dario's 14. You're like, what?
Just
That was.
aged really, really rapidly. This hard life.
I mean, I suppose you can argue that his level in his sellsword company implies that he's been there a while. Like no one would allow a 14-year-old to rise to being the co-ruler, the co-leader of the Stormcrows. Like that's about all you can say on that.
Right.
That he's got to have some age to him. Getting there. Um, aren't Westeros maps medieval and inaccurate? So one of the things that's kind of funny is how we now associate because of Lord of the Rings and the maps that were put in that, we now associate like medieval maps being these like somewhat accurate like things. And medieval maps were horrible. They were like maps did not get as good as what you're going to see in Lord of the Rings or Westeros until like the 19th century. Like no map. Like have you seen fucking world maps? Like
What, have you
Jesus
seen like the
Christ.
Roman map? Like, gosh.
Like there
Like what's it
like
called?
there's that map in the there's that map in Madaba in Jordan. Um that was put on the floor that everybody
Yes,
kind
yeah,
of
that's the one you're talking about. We learned that at school. Yeah, here we go. This is the one I was thinking of. Look up the tabula. Shoot, I can't even spell this.
yeah. Like they have this
Um,
map of like in Madaba Jordan well of like the Levant and like the Nile is going the wrong way and all this different stuff and you're like it's a really fucking famous map. One of the big sites that you have to see when you go to Jordan and like the size of Jerusalem and all these different cities. But yeah, the Nile is going the wrong way in the fucking map. Like it's like they get that wrong. like
look up the Putinger map. Peutinger. This is like a it's a parchment copy like of a late antiquity, so it's kind of like Roman that survived into the Middle Ages. But yeah, like you see, like their maps are more like transit maps. They look like just like town. But
right, like oh, not this. It's is it this?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean you're right
You
that
can get,
like
like that's the boot of Italy.
well that is the funny thing about maps is the transit map is a really good example. Like transit maps, had you actually put a real map that was to scale, it's less useful to a person who is using the system because all the stops would be clumped together here and then spread out and you're like I can't they wouldn't you wouldn't be able to read it and things like that. So like a distorted map like makes sense. And so like having like details of the coasts but having things wrong on the interior doesn't really matter if you're a sailor, right? Like, who cares? Um, but yeah,
Yeah, you're
it's,
right. You make a big like this is a thing that like in fantasy, it's such a staple in fantasy to have like the map. They put it on the table and they're pointing at it and stuff. And like people just didn't draw maps like that. It just wasn't
yeah.
a thing until like the yeah, maybe like 700s, if even that, maybe later. Uh,
I mean, look at this. Look at this fucking detail. How did they do this? How on earth did what cartographer went around doing this? This is incredible. Incredible work. Granted, they've been stuck in the Middle Ages for 15,000 years, so maybe they had some time. They had some time. Uh, um, Old Earth is isolated in Asimov's universe too. Does anyone what's the is there a reason why Old Earth is um is isolated in Foundation? Forgotten, distant, insignificant planet. Um, Old Earth, Gaia Terra.
can somebody explain what their Harangan minds are supposed to be like? I love this bit that there's people that like have no idea what we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
Harangan Harangan mines, watchtower on the wall. Harangan mines were like the
So
in
so
thousand.
essentially from like 1969 to the stopping of Avalon, writing Avalon, which is 1991. George wrote in a universe called I mean he wrote other things, but he was writing in a universe that he invented called the Thousand Worlds. And in that world there was this huge Earth empire that fought a huge intergalactic war against two foes at once, the Findis and the Harangans. And Earth won. They won in the end. However, the result was that they used Earth decided to use like the Findi and the Harangans. They all had different methods. The Harangans used um, telepathic warfare, and the humans used bio warfare, and the humans ended up destroying the Findi and the Harangans and won. However, human society collapsed, and there was an interregnum where all the planets for somewhere between 100 and 500 years didn't have space flight, and so they all became vibrantly different. Um, and that's the setting for all of his short stories. Each planet is vibrantly is very different because they all had an interregnum that made their planet different. And they all kind of talk abstractly about the double war and what it was like in the past, but not too much is actually written. But yeah,
There's all this interesting stuff. Like that's the thing. Is there all this interesting lore stuff, like the explorers or whatever, Clarenavas, and he alludes to them, but you don't really learn anything. So for us, for me at least, it's I'm like, oh, this is
do you think
interesting, but
do you think George is going to remember that Winter is Coming comes from and Seven Times Never Kill Man?
he never remembered that. He does. He forgot writing that book. Like you disappointed me so much with your trying to talk to George. Like how little he seems to care about his old stuff, or even remember. Like, and I'm just like, oh, if I say that, like, he's just gonna be like, I forgot. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, I have no like. I'm like worried he's gonna see this and be like unfazed. He's gonna be like, what is that? Even though it has like his name on the title.
Right. Or he's just gonna be like, "Oh, that's really nice. Oh, Christ." Next, and you're like, "But like he has nothing to say." Like that's a big possibility. It's a big possibility. It's just like, "Oh, nice. Okay, great." And
Damn
then
it.
move on.
Paid $70, $70 for a ticket. My gosh. I know that the Duncan Egg actors are going to be there apparently. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
That
Maybe
should
you
be
get
pretty neat to
something.
see them. I'm sure they know nothing about 1,000 words.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
um, what's funny is, yeah, I guess George does use some of the same planet names as Asimov, like Old Earth and Prometheus and stuff like that. So, but,
Hmm.
um, hmm. Thank you, Count Balerion of House Tatters. I'm trying to think.
Let's Carmen to
Wild
Avalanche fanfic for fans.
Wildcard fanfic series are bust.
People get
Man.
upset when we make fun of wildcard, or not people. One person gets upset when we make fun of wildcards.
I mean,
Uh,
Wildcards just kind of it becomes more and more fun to make fun of it. It's sort of like Anne in Arrested Development. Like
oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's not that Anne deserves to be made fun of. She doesn't. But it becomes funny that everyone just keeps making fun of Anne for no reason. Like it's kind of like
Yeah,
that with
who again?
Wildcards. Like Wildcards does not deserve the scorn that it gets. Absolutely, it doesn't deserve the scorn. It's not that bad. Um, but it's more the joke becomes everyone hates Wildcards. Like that's the joke. It's Anne. It's who? Who?
Oh,
Wildcards who? What?
that is a great comparison. Um, we love Anne. Yeah, 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 yeah. Of course I met Anne. Of course I remember Anne. Which Duncan Egg character from the
Character from
first
the
three
first.
inches do you think would be recurring if more stories had been written? Oh,
Huh. I mean, I feel like Tansel Too Tall would come back at some point, um,
yeah.
and that Bloodraven would come back. I mean, Bloodraven would probably come back over and over again um, in the stories, based on kind of what we know about. Like George once listed like what future stories would be for Dunk, and I mean, it's hard to say if it was off the top of his head, but it was things like the Sellsword, the village hero, the King's Guard, the Lord Commander, and people kind of like based on his life figured out like where it would be. Like one would deal with the third Blackfire Rebellion, one would deal with the fourth Blackfire Rebellion, one would deal with this one uh, lord that tries
Oh
to have a
yeah.
duel, and then the final
And
one
have
would
the
be
lasting
Summerhall.
storm, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, an Aryan Bright Flame would come back. We kind of hear about that, so there'd be drama there. That Dunk hates him and he hates him.
right.
Uh,
If
yeah,
Dunk is nearby, like does he observe Aryan Brightflame like drink wildfire, and things like that. Um,
I feel like some of the hedge knights that we're introduced to in what's it called in the third one in the Mystery Knight should probably come
mm,
back, like Fireball and stuff. Like yeah, like he was like tortured, but he survived. So
yeah,
maybe
there was
we'll.
a lot of characters. Like he spends a lot of time on these different characters in the Mystery Knight, where a lot of it's not really necessary. Like,
Really? Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking like the other day about like that snail, the guy that's like on the snail or something.
mhm.
Remember this? He like takes Dunk's armor. Um,
Yeah,
remember this? He was like a sleazy guy. He's like, you can earn it back if like we go to a whole bunch of duels and you throw him for us to earn the money back. And Dunk's like, no, that's not honorable. Like, I
or
could
like
see that guy
Steely
coming back.
Steely
Like,
Pate feels like a character that could come back for some
oh yeah,
reason.
that name, and they just named Steely Pate. You're like, oh
Steely
yeah,
Pate, like Steely Dan, Steely Pate,
yeah.
just
You're right
floats.
that Tansel should. I kind of like the idea that he never meets Tansel again. She's just
He
like
just
this
thinks
fleeting.
about her.
Yeah.
He's like, you seen City Slickers?
No, I know that City Slicker is where you get like. He's
There's
right behind
this,
me.
there's this. So in City Slickers, like they're being taken out by this like super tough like rancher guy, to do it to take the cows across, to the across the country to get slaughtered or whatever. And they start talking about women, and one of them's like, "Have you ever been in love?" And he's like, "Once, I saw this one woman, and she was like the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, and she like looked back at me, and we had this like moment, and that was like the greatest." And they're all like, "What the fuck? What are you talking about?" And he's like trying to have this like that like this one moment he had with this woman, just staring at this girl, because otherwise he'd been with like sex workers, but the only time he'd ever been in love was like this one time he looked across at this one girl who like looked back at him, and they're all like, "You didn't go talk to her?" And he's like, "No, I didn't want to ruin it. Like that was a perfect moment." And like, and it's like such a ridiculous cartoonish degree of like putting someone on a pedestal in your head. Was this like one woman that he stared at for a second and had like a perfect moment of being in love and never wanted to like ever like ruin that. It's like Tansel Too Tall is like that, like in his head, like this perfect girl that he never goes back and he's always thinking about, you know.
I get it. I see. Like that's the thing is, I've kind of I had one very brief relationship. We went on two dates, and then they're like non-binary. They moved away, so I'm like, I'll never see them again. It was something. There's there, I hope there's something there,
The
but
what
yeah,
if, yeah.
the what if.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's certain people, certain people you just connect with, and but at the same time, it's probably mostly in your head.
I know it's in my head. I know they're like we're two different people, and we'll probably, like we would never work. I'm like it would never work. I know, but there's a part of me that longs for it because I really enjoyed my time with them. But yeah, you're right. You're right. It's in my head. I'm young. All right. I haven't been in too many
Yeah.
relationships. I've only had like one relationship that lasted like longer than like a year. Like so
Mm.
I'm new to this kind of stuff.
I mean, for a long time, I was insecure about that too. Like, I'd gone into my late 20s before I had a relationship that like was past like a few months, and then my late 20s, I had a girlfriend for a couple of years, and then it's really not that hard to suddenly like switch. You're suddenly like, oh,
Yeah.
it's mainly about you and how tolerant you are of other people, and things like that, and being able to like live with someone, and then I became like a girlfriend guy. Um, Thousand Worlds timeline video, please. I mean, uh, I have a.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have the
Preston's into
dates. I've seen lists with dates of the
yeah.
but I have my old guide to the Thousand Worlds universe video. And I list the stories in chronological order for the most part.
A couple of years ago when I was finishing up the Thousand Worlds, like I was very interested to see like what is the latest in the series, like when does Dying of the Light end, and like in the
Yeah.
timeline. Uh,
Actually, I want
so
to say
it's
I don't
interesting.
do it chronologically. I do it geographically, but
Hmm.
I start out kind of in the beginning with like the hero and Men of Greywater Station, and then. But you're right that the final stories are Dying of the Light and Tough Voyaging definitely take place after all the fucking rest.
Way later.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting. Yeah, yeah. And there's little details, like little details that you see that, like, oh yes, this person existed at this time, so you can stitch it together. That's why Tough Voyaging is so interesting. Where like, oh, this like finding of the seed ship changes everything. It changes the whole dynamics of the world. That somebody's discovered it, and then nothing happens, and then it just kind of ends abruptly. So yeah, Thousand Worlds.
Uh, 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 Um, the Song of Ice and Fire ends finding Tough in the Ark on the God's Eye. Yeah, no, this is. I mean, you're saying this is a joke, but like this is something people have talked about for years now. Um, so way back in the day when I was like talking about it being a sci-fi like Ice and Fire being a sci-fi universe, and that everything that we know as magic is really just telepathy and telekinesis. Like then people started saying like, is this in the Thousand Worlds universe? And I was like, well, there's no proof that it's not in the Thousand Worlds universe. And so someone eventually did ask George, is this in the Thousand Worlds universe? And George is like, well, Asimov kind of retroactively made all of his stories in the same universe. And he's like, I haven't decided to do that yet, And I was like, okay, well, so, um, so that was George's answer. But I think the big thing that like, there's no time travel in the Thousand Worlds universe, while there's time travel in Westeros, and I think that those two things are hard to square. But
Even in the what's it called, in the
oh,
Stone
Stone
City,
City,
he does go back and see like his old house or something like that,
yeah, and then
or old facility.
he like wanders until the end of time, right?
Yeah, there's some. You're right that it's not like explicit as Game of Thrones, like as a Song of Ice and Fire, but like I thought, because like there's one where he definitely sees like his childhood home that I think doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
Almost
but
sees it.
then the fucking Theta shit, man. Like I can't believe all the Theta shit appeared in Game of Thrones, and there was no
Nothing.
explanation for all the Theta shit.
And they
Which
even brought it back. You know, they brought it back for the final season with
I
that little
know,
kid,
right?
right? And then they just didn't do like the White Walkers were doing that for fun. Apparently, like there was no explanation.
For people that don't know what I'm talking about, like the Thetas. So if you remember at the very like, okay, the symbol of the Earth's ecological engineering core is, see, it's been so fucking long that we can like review this information for people, and like people have forgotten. I know a lot of people have not forgotten, but like some people are like, what the fuck are you talking about, where you're talking about like Avalon and all of this. Um so get to fucking tough voyaging.
He wears the cap. He like literally wears like
Yeah,
the
he
ecological
does wear the
engineering
cap.
corps hat.
um I'm trying to think what's the best. I mean, there's a small one on the cover of Tough Voyaging, like the book, but I think the in the House of the Worm, the entire plot is like around those sigils,
Hmm.
um, with the theta. Let me see if I can find a good one with the theta. Like they, oh yeah, here we go. So like, oh fuck, this is huge. Okay, like he goes and he finds the fucking theta, and he finds like the thetas like are in the different factions, and it's the theta of the Earth Ecological Engineering Corps. It's like Tough wears it as a hat. It's all over the ship. It's a central part of in the House of the Worm, the theta. And so then there's the fucking pyre at the end of season 1 of A Game of Thrones, where
He's tough in his outfit. Oh god. Come on. There you go. Wait. There's the little hat with the fade on it too. Yeah, there you go.
yeah. But then they do the overhead shot of the fucking theta at the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones. And then of course we've got Sansa and her fucking theta necklace, right? Which is brought in. And you're like, okay, what's the what's the
It's
significance
the
of these
connection.
thetas?
Yeah.
Oh, right, the White Walkers put their stuff in the shape of the theta.
And they do show with like the creation of the White Walkers with the Children of the Forest, their like stone thing is also in a theta, or was it in a
Yeah,
swirl?
right.
Was
They
it a
also do the
spiral?
because the horse things were in the horse heads were in the swirl, so they do the theta.
Yeah.
And then we got the fucking cave, right? Yeah. So they go to the fucking cave and they have all the fucking thetas, right?
Oh yeah.
So they like I don't know why like they did it. Like I don't know if it's just coincidence, you know, I circle a line down it or something. But it's like were were you paying attention to the Thousand Worlds or is it just a fucking coincidence? Because I mean, you could argue, okay, that symbol with the dead bodies isn't exactly a theta. It's actually like some extra pieces. Plus, you got the swirl, and look, there's a swirl
Yeah.
there. And that's a full theta. They haven't done anything else with that theta, but it's an iota here. But it's
Yeah,
just
it just like they wanted to have like Celtic symbols or glyphs or something, and it just why waste our time, you
so
know?
it's sort of but I sort of said like when we finally go to the God's Eye, you can they can go down, and the final thing is you find a fucking theta down there.
Why not? Just fuck it. Like,
Yeah. Any updates on the fanfic Duncan Egg story you were sent? I mean, no updates on that. It's actually been so long. It's been years now since it was sent to me. But yeah, no, somebody did send me a fanfic version of the She Wolves of Winterfell that they wrote, and I feel very bad because it's like I've got so many things going on, and I'm so like when I have free time, I try to push I either try to put out a video or I try to push like the Winds of Winter fanfic, and I just don't have the time to get to the the She Wolves of Winterfell one that somebody sent. So I'm sorry, but it's just one of those things. I just feel bad. I feel very bad. Um, mm, mm, mm.
somebody
Oh,
says like this book was influence on George. I'll have to read it out. Read it.
hello, hello.
Oh my fucking god, dude! You every time, man. Every time I turn around, someone's complaining to me about you. What the fuck you say about this fucking? What was this guy? Kirk Cameron? What's his name? Something Kirk.
Charlie Kirk.
Kirk
Oh,
Cameron.
that fucking
Let me
guy,
grab some
dude.
water. You guys can discuss. You can guys can
Oh,
discuss Kirk Cameron
Kirk Cameron.
amongst yourself for a
Freaking,
second while I get some more water.
Kirk Cameron saving Christmas. You ever see
oh,
that?
Trey, you were so right about what you fucking tweeted out about like all of a sudden everyone's like has been a secret fan of this fucking guy the entire time. Like, no,
Oh,
the fuck you haven't.
fuck all. Like, yeah. Like my relative was literally like, oh, I love that image of him would change my mind. And it's like, you don't know who this fucking guy was. Like you're mixing him up with Steven Crowder. That's a different person. But because like shtick is like so, he's a grifter and they're all grifters, like he has no identity.
I love how they're making like no one cared who Charlie Kirk was like before he got killed. Like he was some guy that went around college campuses annoying college kids, and then now
Actually,
huge
what
stadiums like where people are going to like cry, and it's just like, oh my god, you guys don't give a fuck. You didn't give a fuck about him before.
Actually, Preston, you're kind of. I have to say this. I have to call you out, man. You're out of line here. Because first off, I don't know if you know this, but I've actually taken a lot of inspiration from Charlie Kirk recently.
Oh really?
I've
In
I've
what way?
taken to I've taken to going off to grade schools and challenging fourth graders to an arm wrestling contest. Needless to say, I
Yes.
win some of those and I lose some of them, but I always make sure to edit those compilation videos accordingly. So
That's
I've
right.
taken a lot of
Of the ones of
inspiration,
just you winning. Yeah.
of course, 100%. 100%.
It's
So
just so artificial that like all of a sudden everybody is super into it, and it's like now you fucking were not into Charlie Kirk. Like you just people going to these
I
stadiums and
think you hit
crying.
the nail on the head in your comment section when you're like, "Yeah, we should all be mourning Hitler's director of
Well,
propaganda." That's kind of
well,
what he was.
someone tried to say like I'm sure his wife and daughters like are upset about his death. I was like, yeah, I'm sure Hitler's girlfriend was sad, like liked him too. Like it's just like, look, everybody has friends and family. If that is the bar for being a good person, I mean, who's not a good person then? Like everybody, like that's your fucking bar. Well, some people liked him. Well,
I'm glad.
Therefore, he did no
I'm
damage.
glad you
Yeah,
said that
therefore, he was the
because
guy.
I'm glad you said that. Speaking of gay porn, I'm glad you said that. So Trey, you're gonna go see George R. R. Martin then?
I am. This is true. I was talking to Preston about it. I'm bringing. I got this off of eBay. This seven times never killed man.
Mm-hmm.
The physical book, so he can sign it, and I have an excuse to talk to him. We'll see. We'll see what comes of that.
I have a friend of mine who's also going, and she said she's going to record the entire panel that he's on. So, well, hopefully she does, and hopefully she can get me the recording, and I can upload it.
And get
And
your
yeah,
recording of George telling how people to be writers. How do
dude,
how do you become a
dude,
writer?
I was telling this to Preston. But you know how like in the aftermath of like at the WorldCon panel where the person yelled at George, there were people
Oh
in my
yeah.
comments section who were Sanderson fans who were like, George was such a jerk. He was such an asshole. And I'm like, okay, let's wait until the official video comes out of the World Panel thing to see. He was actually the nicest guy ever. Yeah, he
Yeah.
may have interrupted here and there, but like these people are fucking unhinged. They
Carmine,
have no
Carmine,
idea
those
what they're
people,
talking
that was
about.
one person. That was one person using fake accounts. It was that same girl who said jaws were on the floor. She was using the same language in all her fake bot accounts that she was creating. Like it was one person, and I will stand by that. That was one person manufacturing hate, like in some type of thing, like
I mean, it's like Lex Luthor with his little monkeys,
little monkey.
in the pocket dimension.
Trey, did you watch
It's
Superman?
crazy that this is real sometimes. Like that is just real. People just
Oh,
make up hate.
Oh
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Oh,
By the way,
uh,
Preston, I have been watching Peacemaker. I'm
yeah.
loving it. You're telling me season one is better.
Oh yeah, you haven't seen season one?
I've seen it a little bit here and there. It's a little bit here and there.
See, I mean, look, it's not. I'm having a great time with season two, but season one is better because, well, one, there's more Adrian in season one, and Adrian's the best part of the show.
Adrian?
The other, the other
Oh,
vigilante,
that guy. Oh, I
vigilante.
love him. He's
Yeah,
one of my favorites. I love him.
yeah, yeah. There's some really fun scenes, like when Vigilante goes to the prison and he like wants to start a fight with the racists. So he walks over and he sits down with them. And he's like, "Hey guys, I have an idea. Let's sit around and talk about the black community's contribution to America. I'll go first." They rock and roll. You're like, and the Nazis are like, "Ugh." So they, but he's also like the best fighter in the world. So they all attack him and he just kills them. Um, so much Indian hate since H1B announcement. Have you seen any increase in it yourself? Feeling super depressed, like the whole world hates me. Yeah, I mean, look, Americans are going to get some hate. We maybe we deserve our hate. You know, it's too bad. We American, we kind of suck. We kind of suck. We Americans. I mean, it's true. Um,
I think he's talking about Indian people specifically, not Americans.
well, the Indian hate. So the deal is, so I've actually like I used to work at Homeland Security, and I actually spent like a year of my life doing a review of H-1B and L-1 visas. So I know a fuckload about H-1B visas, more than any human being should know. But okay, really simple. We have a visa called an H-1B that is mainly for tech workers, but also supermodels. There's an H the three categories. Melania came in on H1B supermodel one. Anyway, but the H1Bs there's a cap because say you are a tech worker and you want to come to America. There's a cap. There's a 65,000, and then you can, yeah, and a company pays for it. It's usually before it cost about $2,000 to $4,000. The price was changing around. Like your company sponsors you, but for them it's like, hey, I get to get this tech worker super cheap, even though you're supposed to pay him the prevailing wage. I'm going to get this tech worker super cheap, and he's going to be pretty loyal worker because he wants to stay in America, and because you can immigrate, even though it's a non-immigrant visa, you can immigrate at the end of an H-1B. So so recently, Trump announced that he wanted to raise the price of an H-1B to from $4,000 to $100,000. Like just a massive, like, what the fuck kind of raising in price. This is the big problem with it, is that there was another type of H-1B for all NGO workers or educational institutions. You could come to America on H-1B and you were exempt from the cap because it was different. So let's say you worked for an NGO and you were not subject to the cap, but now all those NGOs won't be able to afford workers. So this is like brutal punch to NGOs, but and educational institutions. Meanwhile, tech workers, I mean, there are ways around getting people in the country, because you have L1 visas. An L1 visa means if you have an international company and you have an employee that's worked for your company for 1 year, you can just transfer them. And so if you're Hewlett Packard, you exist everywhere, and you're IBM, you're Apple, you exist everywhere. Somebody works for you for a year, you can transfer somebody. So the tech industry can figure out ways around while not using an H-1B. But yeah, is it racist? Of course it is. Of course, like the charging 100,000 is racist. And it's hypocritical too, because you find these people that are against that like want to crack down on illegal immigration. They're constantly like, oh, I'm for legal immigration though. They should go the proper channels, and then every chance they get, they shut down a proper channel. Like there's no. They just don't want They just don't want immigration, or at least they don't want brown immigration. They want white people, even though Americans, like the rest of the modern world, the developed world, aren't having kids. So it's like we need immigration, or else the population of the country is going to drop. So, but whatever, whatever. But yeah, it's a dumb plan. $100,000. Okay, all right. Yeah. Will Summer die in the cave or escape with Bran? I think Summer's probably going to die. It happened in the show, but also if Bran is going out the sinkhole, if he's going out the back door and the back hole is down a sinkhole, how is a direwolf climbing up the wall? I don't think Summer escapes. Is what I'm saying. Like we heard about the back door. We've heard about the door at the cave. We heard about the door that needs to be held. We know about Hodor's door. So a door needs to be held. We've heard about the door. It's down a sinkhole. That the direwolf's not getting out of that sinkhole. Summer's dying. I'm sorry, Summer, but I mean that's fully what I think George was going to do in the book. So, but yeah, what else is going on, Carmine?
Stuff. We got lots to talk about. So prepare for that. Prepare this week. We got lots to talk about. Lots of stuff. We'll get Trey in on this too. Actually, are we gonna do the Blood Moon thing?
Um,
The Blood Moon costumes, which gives us a look into what they
oh
were
yeah,
gonna do for
yeah,
the show.
definitely, definitely. If you want to do that this week, I'm totally game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to use your eCam so we can all see the
yeah,
thing. But yeah,
and we'll see if we eventually have a discussion of you know Carmine's perhaps celebration, perhaps not thing later on, but we'll see.
I
We'll
also
see.
got Alien Earth ending this week too.
Oh yeah, Alien Earth. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. You think Boy Cavalier is gonna get gotten,
100%. His eyeballs going.
and then he's gonna like hide it, and the Oculus guy is gonna be like try to rule in his
As a
stead.
billionaire, oh my god, that's great.
But how is he gonna hide his face, like with it
sunglasses.
sticking out like that?
Because yeah, it doesn't fit. You're right that it doesn't fit.
So
Oh
he just
man.
like he has long hair though, right?
Yeah, he does. Maybe he covers it
He can't have
with
an
blood.
he can't have an emo fringe to hide that. So sunglasses is probably the best bet.
Or an eye patch? Well, he's got no. His hair is actually a mop. It can't cover it. I'm sorry, Boy Cavalier. How would he hide? Yeah, or I mean, he either that he becomes a recluse, and he's just like, I want to be alone. And you're like, really? It's like, yes. But man, yeah, he's.
Trey, I didn't know you were watching Alien Earth. You liking it, huh?
I'm loving it. Of course, I've been watching Alien. I'm a huge Alien fan. Huge,
Um,
huge.
I sound crazy here, but could Longclaw be Dark Sister? Gior might have been full of shit, and how House Mormont never had a Valyrian sword. Can't find any other reference to them having a sword from the history books or Jorah's scene. Jorah's scenes. Well, the idea being that like somehow it was just at the wall and he found Dark Sister and like replaced it himself and like claimed that it was the Mormont family sword for 500 years. And well, the problem with this is that um, Aziz from History of Westeros talked to George, and one of the very few questions he asked him about the story was what happened to Dark Sister, and George said that Bloodraven took it north of the wall with him, and so we have it from George's mouth of where Dark Sister is, and it's not Longclaw. I mean, unless it went north of the wall, and then Mormont went out, found his body, came back, changed the handle. But George said specifically himself that Dark Sister went north of the wall with Bloodraven. Um, yeah. So. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. When Doran has all the Sand Snakes arrested, he said, leave Sorella to her game. Suggests that she's up to something separate from Marwyn. Thoughts? I mean, yeah, no, I've thought about this a bit. Like, does Doran, um, does Doran seem like the kind of like, does Doran seem like the type of person that would not know what Sorella's doing? You know, um, somebody that's so important that she's like screwing around at the Citadel, like so you kind of have to say, well, Doran, no, he would know what Sorella's doing, right? I mean, that's pretty important to be hanging out at the Citadel. Um, and so when he says like leave her to her game, like he must know what she's doing and must think that what she's doing is fine. So either her actions fit into his master plan or she is like aware of his master plan. Now, keep in mind, like the sand snakes doing their shit fits into Doran's plan, but they're not like clued in. So I mean, there's still a question of whether Sorella is clued in to what Doran is doing, or if Doran's puppet mastering them. But um, I mean, I don't know if her game is separate from Marwyn. Um, I think it's like whether it's separate from Doran. You know, is her game the same game as his game? Is the idea? You know, like is Sorella a player, a piece in Doran's game, or does Doran consider what she's doing a whole completely separate thing, like leave her to her game? But just the fact that he leaves her, that he's fine with whatever she's doing, um, means that he must be okay with what she's doing. He must know. It must square or not conflict with like what he's doing. Um, I mean, considering that like Marwyn is talking about dragons and wanting to go talk to Daenerys and be her advisor, um, and he's sending Quentin to go marry Dany, like the crossover is insane. Like the crossover is right there. It's about Daenerys, right? Marwyn's up there with Marwyn's obsessed with Daenerys. Doran's obsessed with Daenerys. They both want to go talk to her and get her on their side. He wouldn't just let Sorella be doing something random when it so greatly affects what he's doing. Like his whole game is about Daenerys, right? So, and Marwyn's whole thing is about Daenerys, and Sorella is tailing Marwyn. I don't know. It's just he's got to know. He has to know what Sorella is doing. You know, it would be grossly incompetent of Doran to not either be massively spying on Sorella or for Sorella to be someone that he's employed. Hey PJ and Trey, will Branskin change Mira? Will his story parallel Vermeer? Kill mentor, warg women, become an abomination? Also, thank you for more puck. No, I don't think that. I think that the fact that like Mira's brain is still fine seems like she at least has not been skin changed. I mean, I think that the entire idea is that Hodor's mind got screwed up when there was an attempt to skin change him. I think Mira provides the function of her role is to get them out of that sinkhole. I think like that's what I think Mira is there for. Like we know that hold the door is happening, right? Like let's just go with the show, right? Like let's take the pieces of the show. We know that time traveling Bran fucks with Hodor's brain for the purpose of holding the door. So we can all kind of accept that Hodor, time travel is happening, so Hodor can hold the door. Where's the door? Well, the door is down a sinkhole. How do we get out of the sinkhole? Well, Mira's a really great climber. This is established. How many things do we know about Mira? Well, she can fish. Was that?
She can fish. I was saying the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, she can fish. She knows some stories. And she can climb. Like that's about it. Like so we're at the bottom of a sinkhole and the only other character that Bran is with is somebody that can climb. That's why I think like Mira, she's tying a rope to Bran and she's helping haul him up as he tries to climb with just his arms, and she's trying to climb with it. She helps haul him up. That she climbs out of the sinkhole and then she tries to help pull him up is my guess on that. But yeah, I don't see a parallel to Varamir in that sense. I mean, he's already he's already the abomination by time traveling, and warging Hodor, Walder, but and such. So I think that's more of the thing. Um, in Clash of Kings, Cersei tells Tyrion that if Sansa hadn't snitched to her, Ned's plot wouldn't have worked. How do we square that with with Ned being inept? It's just such an incorrect. I know what you're saying. I've got to now bring this like
You've been reading through it. Like Ned literally warns her and doesn't arrest her. Like she doesn't need Sansa.
yeah, I'm trying to think. When did she mention in the Tyrion chapters? I'm gonna search for this. Is this George not remembering his own story, or is it? Or you could argue, is it Cersei lying? Here it is. A Clash of Kings, Tyrion 1. Let's bring this up because this is somebody brought up this before, so I'm gonna. All right, bring Trey up here. Here it is. It's tell me whose fine notion was it to grant him Harrenhal and name him to the council? Littlefinger made the arrangements. We needed Slint's gold cloaks. Eddard Stark was plotting with Renly, and he'd written to Lord Stannis offering him the throne. We might have lost it all. Even so, it was a close thing. If Sansa hadn't come to me and told me of her father's plans, truly his own daughter, Sansa always seemed to be such a sweet child. The girl was wet with love. She would have done anything for Joffrey until he cut off her father's head and called it mercy. That put an end to that.
No.
How to square that?
Because she's literally describing. She was like scheming with Renly, and then sending the letter to Stannis. That is the two immediate things before he talks to Cersei, right? Or no, it's after. No, it's after. That's
Yeah,
after
those
he's
happen
already
after.
warned her. Yeah, he already has warned her of the thing. Basically, told her his plan already.
It's
What is she talking about?
there's no fucking way to square that. That's just like my
Because
only way
that's
to
the thing.
square it is George wrote Tyrion won a Clash of Kings before deciding that he needed a scene with Ned and Cersei, and then inserted that chapter later, and then published it. Like,
Or, or maybe he like only went back and looked at Ned chapter, like the one where Robert dies. Like he like is like, okay, I need to go back and check up on my notes here, and he only remembered that he had the scene with him writing the letter to Stannis and talking to Renly and
I mean,
scheming
I
with
admit
Peter.
that like the chapter where Ned talks to Cersei has so many contradictions to the next Ned chapter that it wouldn't
Yeah,
surprise me that if he wrote that later and then shoved it in, because there's so many contradictions where you're just like, he's all of a sudden caring about the children and then doesn't care about the children the next fucking chapter. Like, what's going
mhm.
on? You know. But then again, in that chapter, he does say why hasn't Cersei left yet? So he definitely knows that he warned her.
I can't swear that. That's
No,
crazy.
it's impossible to square it.
Yeah,
So the only
because
thing you can say is does Cersei have a motive to lie to Tyrion
yeah,
about this
probably not.
information?
She's like kind of telling her spilling her guts here. It sounds like she got really no reason to.
That's the thing is she's saying it was like we fucked up. It was a big mistake. We never meant
Yeah,
to kill Ned. Like if she were lying, she would have been like Ned needed to die. It was fine, you know. But instead, she's like, Joffrey fucked up, and it was a close thing.
yeah. Yeah, he can't
Um,
scream because he literally divulged his plans to her. The scene before that.
is he trying to hide? Is she trying to hide the incest? She doesn't want to bring up Ned Warning because of the incest, but he Tyrion brings it up
Yeah.
in that same chapter. But I'm trying to think like which happens first. Um, Let me find here. Okay, he reveals that he knows about the incest after. So okay, the only way I can possibly think of squaring it, and this is not a good. This is not a good. This is not a good patch. But the only way I can attempt is that Cersei is lying because about Sansa revealing the information because she doesn't want to reveal to Tyrion that Ned knew about the incest and confronted her.
Mm.
And so she's just going to lie and say that Ned was scheming with Renly and they didn't know about the plot. It was just that Sansa had revealed it. Had Tyrion revealed that he knew about the incest a minute earlier, maybe she would have been like, "Yeah, well, fucking Ned figured it out too, and like told me to leave." Yeah, that's the best I can do. That's the best I
That
can
can
do is that she's trying to hide the incest from Tyrion, and so she doesn't want to bring up Ned confronting her. But it's a complete and utter lie. Yeah, I mean it's just wrong. But that's all I can come up with. I don't know. Hmm. So weird. But she's so honest in this. Who murdered John Aaron? I don't know. You know. Ugh. I guess yeah, she's still trying to hide the incest. Is the only thing I have. Senna said such a hard time marching from snow. Serious concerns with other armies marching in winter. Also serious lack of resources. Thoughts. Um, I mean, how can they do? I think that Stannis's army that he has in the Theon chapter and the Asha fragment and the fanfic Asha chapter, there. I mean, even if they win, they're all starved and they can't fight any battles. I think the idea is that Manderley still has some forces that he never sent, and that now that he's got Manderley, that he can have some fresh men, and he keeps hopping to fresh men. He keeps using men and um, and that's it. I'm going a little fast. I'm probably not going to be able to get to a lot of the super chats tonight because it's already fucking late. Um, Maybe Greywater Watch doesn't exist and the Craddock men aren't real. A whole culture of people, but only ones named are three Reeds. Rob's at Moat Kalen, but no Crannics show up to join his host. Well, some real Crannic men definitely shot arrows at Moat Kalen. So at least some exist.
I love this idea. These like false flag Krennic men, like they're all paid actors. What is this?
The crisis actors, yeah, yeah.
We also
Man,
know that like the phrase have like they have a whole thing about bog devils and stuff. Like there's a whole
that's true.
long-standing feud between them.
Yeah. Carmine told me a theory that Charlie Kirk didn't die. That was a bunch of crisis actors.
I told you this. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I told you this. What the fuck did I say this to you?
All those school shootings didn't happen because of the crisis actors, right? Yeah. Charlie Kirk didn't die either. Yeah, there's no Kranich men. No, I mean yeah, the fact that the Freys do have a culture of hating frog eaters would be point one, that there are Kranich men. The arrows in the Ironborn are another piece of evidence that there's Iron men, that they exist. Um, but yes, funny nonetheless, though.
There's like the World Book and stuff. I don't know. There's so much.
Biggest challenges for Danny 2, no major spoilers. I mean, the big thing, I generally know the structure of like how the action is going to take place. The big problem is figuring out Quaith's backstory and maybe the history of Karth and tying it all together. But that's the big thing, which is why it's been taking some. I keep delaying putting out the Danny 2 chapter call. Like I have better ideas on like what to do with Brand 2. I'm like sooner to be like, oh, let's just do Brand 2, or Jamie 2 or Cersei 2 than Danny 2. Danny 2 just seems really hard, but it's straight up Quaith's backstory, and trying to reconcile that in a way that's not too ridiculous. Because if Quaith ends up being whatever, Shira Seastar or Ashara Dane or nobody, that reveal has to be done right. You know, that reveal of who Quaith is has to be done right. So, um, obviously, no major spoilers. Do you have any plans for Braun in the fanfic, or is he just chill out with the Stokeworths waiting for it to end? No, Braun is coming back. He's. I mean, no major spoilers. I mean, I think you many know that. Like, I assumed that Braun is a creature of Varys, and so the fact that like Jon Con and Aegon are marching towards King's Landing, um, and the Stokeworth lands are near is a and they're tied up with Rosby lands. I mean, this is no secret. I know it is kind of spoiling, so I'm sorry, but like, very, Braun's definitely coming back, but he's for a long. I have many ideas about like how he was a creature of Varys. Like it just makes a lot more. The story makes a lot more sense um, with him being um, someone that's supposed to be there. Oh, Rob was more cunning than we thought. He sent the catspaw. He marches so Ned gets executed. He wants to be king. Thoughts? He has no motivation to kill Bran though, because he's ahead of Bran in the line of succession. I admit that like getting his own father killed, that's one thing. But you're saying he needs to get the motivation to get Ned killed? But he didn't really need like. So I'm trying to think if Bran, even though like it's a big moment when Ned's like, "You forgot about this," and he puts down the fucking dagger. Even if Bran weren't going to be, um, even if Bran weren't stabbed, would he have? Would Ned still have gone south? And I try to think like the thing that sends him south initially was the direwolf in the snow, because Catelyn wants him to go south, and then the Jon Arryn murder. So those two, he was gonna refuse, but then the Jon Arryn murder comes in, and the direwolf in the snow, and Cat's like, "Go, you have to go." And so now he's in King's Landing, and he's trying to figure out the Jon Arryn murder, and so he figures that out. He figures out the incest, and then he confronts Cersei. Same once he confronts Cersei, it's all downhill from there. I don't think Bran even needs to be in the picture. Well, wait a minute. Bran needs to be in the picture because then Cat has to be in the picture to kidnap Tyrion, which then causes Jaime. Oh, man, it's like these what ifs always going back. Like had, but that only sends Jaime. Had Cat not kidnapped Tyrion, would Stannis would Ned still have solved the mystery? And then when he confronted Cersei, Jaime would have been in the city with him. That would have been awkward. Completely different world. But I still think like conflict and war happens. I suppose Robert wouldn't have gone hunting. Fuck, Robert wouldn't have gone hunting. Ned wouldn't have Ned wouldn't have got his leg broken. So he would have left. He would have left King's Landing because he didn't get his leg broken. God damn it. So I guess he would have left. And he never gets killed. Rob would need it if Rob were orchestrating his own father's death. He sure has like time traveling Bran level of knowledge. Like he had no idea that Ned was going to get his leg broken. That's just godlike foresight. Mira Reeds theorizes that Qyburn is actually Oberyn. Thoughts?
I thought Qyburn was shitmouth. What's going on here?
Like they did a swap?
They're coexisting in the Red Keep at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Unless it's a no, that makes no sense. It can't even be like a Varys like moonlighting thing because Oberyn's in King's Landing before Qyburn, and there's no
Qyburn returns to King's Landing with Jaime,
yeah
and Oberyn has already arrived and has been there for months.
for months.
Um, they're both there for Tyrion's trial, and then it'd be very difficult. That'd be very difficult for
No,
Qyburn
not just difficult.
to.
It's impossible. They didn't have. These are two different people. Like this is
Trey,
such a
stop it.
bullshit
I'm the
theory.
anti-theory guy, not you. Stop it. What are you doing here? Come on, what's going on here?
This is
Stop it.
this is like one of the
No, no,
worst
okay. So
theories
the idea is
ever.
that the minute Jaime leaves, so say when Jaime leaves, wants to turn around and go back for Brienne, that he then becomes Oberyn and then enters into the city
Wow.
at the beginning, like with his retinue. He goes down, he gets with his retinue, and then comes. I don't know how you square the time, because Oberyn's there for a long fucking time. Oberyn's there at like Joffrey's birthday party, isn't he?
Yes, he's
And like
there.
the when,
Oberyn arrives really early.
yeah, and Oberyn's there very early, like.
So
This is the
Oberyn
worst
somehow
theory
survived
I've
to
heard
go
in a
on
long
to.
time. This is sucks.
So Oberyn survives somehow the battle, the fight with the mountain, and then experiments on the mount. What? Huh?
Yeah, he like the head crushing in. He doesn't get his head crushed in. He actually like that was a fake head, and he was like his
Hmm.
real head's like in the chest armor.
And they seeded that with Penny and the
That's just
dog.
yeah. It's just too. That's just too much. It's hard. It's hard. That's impossible. You're like Trey's not even that's not hard. That's impossible. It's just, um, check Winds of Winter, Wrath of the Lich King cinematic.
No, no, no. World of Warcraft, Wrath of the
Oh,
Lich King cinematic.
oh, there's a new movie coming out. Or
No,
is
it's
it in
just
the
the video
game?
game cinematic.
Oh, everybody looks like it's a lot of ice. A lot of people looking like the others with crystalline swords and stuff. The Lich King, um, is what he's talking about. This kind of thing. Looks like another. Or a Dro elf. Yeah. Um, Urswick presides over Euron's wedding in Old Town. See, if it were Septon Ut, if it were Septon Ut, maybe. Did you ever hear the old theory that that the whole reason we was introduced to the Septon Maribald as a traveling Septon was that he was the traveling Septon that married Rhaegar and Lyanna? This is like a theory going back in the day, and it's just like, why not just make him Septon? Why not make that Septon Septon Ut? Like he was a traveling Septon. Why did it have to be Maribald? Just make it Septon Ut. Septon Ut, Rhaegar, Lyanna. Why not? Why Septon Maribald? You know.
Oh my gosh.
Thoughts on Sybil Spicer possibly being in the prologue of point of view in the Winds of Winter, and Stoneheart capturing and killing all the Westerlings, save Sybil for the last of the parallel to see the Red Wedding to set the Wind's dark tone. Um, so yeah, there's this group think that because George said that perhaps Jane Westerling would be in the prologue of A Feast for Crow. I mean, in a prologue of The Winds of Winter, there was a group think in the fandom that it would somehow deal with uh, Forrester Presley Forrester bringing the hostages from Riverrun back to the Westerlands. Um, the the major problem with that theory is that in the epilogue of A Dance with Dragons, Kevin mentions that Jamie's been missing for a while and no one can find him. And so, timeline wise, that means the hostages have made it back to the Westerlands for a while now. Like they have not they're not on their way about to be ambushed by the Brotherhood Without Banners. Or had they been ambushed, that would have been mentioned by Kevin and others that, oh shit, this and this and this is going on. It's too major of an event for it not to have been mentioned in the epilogue of A Dance with Dragons, and it clearly would have happened, you know, before the epilogue of A Dance with Dragons. For this very reason, in the fanfic, I put the setting at the crag to have Jane Westerland be there and had a different story going on. But so the group think about this being the prologue. It just timeline wise, it cannot work. It cannot work. It just it's been in the fan group think for so many years now, 6 or 7 years now. Like this has been spread around as some sort of fact that there's going to be this like ambush on the on the hostages being taken back to the Westerlands, and it's like, well, I mean, barring author error, which there's author error, but barring author error, it just can't exist. It can't happen. Um, it would have been mentioned in the epilogue. Like, remember, like he sends off those hostages, and then he has Jamie 1, a Dance with Dragons, where he goes to the Blackwood and Bracken lands, and then he gets kidnapped, and then time passes, and it's been weeks, and we have the last day of winter, and they're commenting on that. Like it's been a couple months now. It can't. No. Um. All right. Got to finish up because I got to head to bed. Even though
Yeah.
Carmine's gonna be like, "You just started."
I didn't say that. I haven't said that in a while.
Um. Wildcards deserves as much scorn as time traveling Bran. That's true. Oh, 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 oh. Why does Presbo mispronounce his own name? Um, this is a wire question. So everyone calls him Presbeluski. Um, I mean, so I don't know much about like I imagine this is Polish pronunciations or anything like that. What I do know is that over time, um, people just switch the names like to the other pronunciations because it just gets too hard. Um, we say Paris, France. We don't say Paris. At some point, people just gave up and they're like, "Fuck it, it's Paris." My last name is Jacobs. Originally, it was Jacobs. But you arrive in America and everyone's looking at it and they go, "Oh, you've got a J. I guess your name's Jacobs." Eventually, it becomes Jacobs. Eventually, people just fucking give up and they just stop. They just stop with the whole like, it's pronounced this way. It's just at some point it just stops. I'm trying to. There's so many examples of this. Like croissant. Like people say croissant. Like it's just what happens over time. Until sometimes it gets to like a really weird point where it's pronounced neither in English, the English spelling or the French. Like how we say joie de vivre in America. Like that's not how you say it in French. It's not how it's spelled at all, but we say joie de vivre. That's just how people say it here, you know? Um, the, so I think that must be the way that what happened with Presbeluski. Everyone's just like, well, this is how everybody's been pronouncing his name, so we're gonna pronounce it this way too. I mean, I say Jacobs. I don't say oh, my name's Preston Jacobs. Like people be like, yeah, and then insist and be like, it's Jacobs, guys. Stop mispronouncing my name. It's Jacobs. You just get tired. You're just like, fine,
Mhm.
fuck it. I mean, I'm Jacobs. Like that's it. It's gonna happen to everybody. Everybody. If you have a strange name that looks different from the way it's spelled, I'm not saying you will, but your descendants are gonna fucking give up. Like it's just um, there's a Chinese surname, Quan, Chuen, but people are just like, it's Quan, it's fine, it's done.